What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us right here on Tuesday night. It is Tuesday Night Titans, episode number 90 for your Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. I am your host, JD from New York, joined by the one and only, the best co-host in the biz, the Solid Monster. What's going on, brother?
Oh, thank you, man. Well, it's been a tough 24 hours, but doing okay. Otherwise,
Yep.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Physically, I'm okay. Mentally, a little fucked up, but unfortunately, we got the bad news yesterday. Everybody is grieving in their own ways and sharing their own stories, which is absolutely wonderful to hear. All the great stories about the one and only Kevin Castle. And when you think you're done crying, you hear Don Tony talk, or you see a picture that Don Tony posted or John Draper posted, and you see the pictures of Kev all throughout the years. It's like it starts all over again, man. It's like it's going to be never ending for a few days over here.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. Well, I mean, look, like with you, I'm sure when I heard from John what had happened, his brother yesterday, it was just. Yeah, it was a punch to the gut because it's not the sort of thing you expect. And I knew, and I don't know if you were aware, but I mean, he was public that he had some health issues recently. So I was aware of that, but you don't know to what extent. You just don't, you don't assume that it's so serious that it could be life or death. And then to hear the news yesterday was just awful. And I said it on my end on my show because, the Don Tony and Kevin Castle show for so many years, and this predates all the YouTube stuff and everything. It was an institution on Monday nights, and they were doing shows even prior to that, going back, 20 years. And it feels weird and it feels wrong to know that combo is now incomplete from now on. And I know a lot of people online have had the chance, if you didn't know him personally, have had the chance to interact with Kevin over the years, whether it's on social media or if you called into a show, whatever it may be. And, speaking from my experience with him, always had very pleasant conversations with him, could talk wrestling, could talk Mets, because he was a fellow Mets fan. I'm sure you're aware, his fondness for animals and cats. And he was, and I said this also, that I think it says a lot about a person, the way they treat animals.
Yeah. And
that was certainly, the case with him. So it was tough to get that news. He was always very respectful and very complimentary and very, encouraging to me, over the years as I grew my show and my brand. And he had been doing it longer than I've been doing it and was always very supportive. To a large extent, and I always appreciated that. So, he was one of the good ones. You're going to hear a lot of tributes and a lot of things said about him in the next several days, and it's all true because he will definitely be missed.
Yeah, I said last night during my Raw review, basically in the Bronx, living in a basement apartment, starting out doing the YouTube thing. I think I found you first. And I gravitated towards what you were creating. And then through you, I found Don Tony, Kevin Castle. Then I found the Wrestling Soup guys and a relative nobody. You and the crew took me in and always had my back. And I appreciate that to no end. And then Kev, I've always explained that I went through one of my darkest periods ever with my ex-girlfriend. Over 8 years, we broke up. And he was there to basically ground me and get me back on my feet almost every single time I needed someone to talk to. In that dark time, he was there. And I never got a moment ever to see him in person, which is something I look back on and I'm like, fuck, that should have happened. And it didn't. I wanted to shake his hand. I wanted to tell him thank you for all that he's done with me. And his love of pets and cats. You've been over the house a few times. You see the little ones running around. We love them. And Kev was the first one that when Bacardi died, he was one of the first people to reach out to me. And I was one of the first people to reach out to him when I fostered the Calico family that I wanted to bring into the home. after Bacardi died, and he was just over the moon. He's like, man, you're doing such a fucking great thing. I love that. That's so awesome. So a lot of what has been said, like Jason said, is true. I've known him for about 10 years, never met him in person. And that's the one thing I kind of regret. I wish we would have made that happen,
And I said the same thing on I mean, you're not the only one, because I think at this point, I've pretty much met everybody. I mean, obviously you and I, a number of years ago, I had the chance to link up for an event. Forgot exactly where it was in Brooklyn, but Don Tony was there. Mish was in. Joey was there. So we all got to kind of hang out. We had Mish and Joey at a House of Glory show as well.
Yeah, Draper was there too.
And Draper was there as well. But Kev was he was always busy or working or whatever the reason was. He wasn't there, and he wasn't able to be a part of that. And so that's one of my great regrets too, because we probably had dozens of conversations over the years and got along great, but just never had the chance to link up. And I knew where he was booking as far as like the club he was working at any given moment. And I had thought, like, there were a couple times where I was like, maybe I should just show up, as a surprise. I'd probably stick out like a sore thumb just walking in there.
At a heavy metal club? Sure.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine me walking in there? But I was like, maybe I'll just show up as a surprise one day. And, because I knew what he looked like. And maybe I'll just, like, tap him on the shoulder or something. But, yeah, it's one of those things you look back on it now. It's like, man, I wish I would have done that. But I never did. So even though we never had the chance to link up in person or hang out, in that way, I did consider him a dear friend. I think he felt the same way about me. I'm sure he felt the same way about you. And again, my condolences to all of his family and friends. John, I know, is handling this like a trooper. He's sort of taking control here and keeping everything together, I think, in a great way. But yeah, look, you have to know that he's going through a lot of shit right now and a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings, and it's all still very fresh. But my thoughts are with him, and obviously, DT and Kev worked together for a very long time. Mish, Joey, everybody that knew him, worked with him, did shows with him. There's going to be a hole there, that can't be filled, and it sucks. There's no other way to put it. I mean, it's just a very shitty situation, but he is one of the OGs. You talk about who was there at the beginning of all this. I mean, he and DT, I mean, they go back, 20 plus years, and one of the OGs of what we do, and he will be sorely missed.
Absolutely, man. I listen to, every time I'm in this type of mood, I always throw on Blackbird by Alter Bridge. I did my stuff today, hopped in the Mustang, windows down, blasted it. So, everybody on my end knows what the song means to me. The lyrics in the song that really hit home for me with Miles singing, it's right before the main hook comes in. It says, "Ascend, may you find no resistance. Know that you made such a difference, and all you leave behind will live to the end. The cycle of suffering goes on, but the memories of you stay strong. Someday I too will fly and find you again." So this one's for Kev. We love him, and everybody that has been speaking highly of him and is suffering with us. My thoughts and prayers, and Jason's thoughts and prayers and love with everybody from that camp and his family. So it's gonna be a tough couple of days, but I think he would want us to get the show on the road, man, and not be too somber. But tonight we got a great show, and we got a lot of great discussion. I tuned into this guy over here on Sunday after Monday, I guess it was. It could be theoretically 5 o'clock in the morning. I just got done. I think Jesse and I got done at 3:45. Jesse bounced early before the super chat portion, and I'm going to bed after I monetize. I'm like, let me see what Jason says about this show. The first thing I see is this guy come on, stone face, his hair disheveled like he was in a fucking war with somebody, and I'm like, uh-oh. And then the next day I wake up. I literally got 4 hours of sleep, and my clip is circulating. I blew a gasket because I just had enough. And then people were even clipping Jason's show from Sunday. And people, the going narrative was, when you lost the Solid Monster, you done fucked up, man. I don't know how you were feeling after that show, but clearly you struck a chord with a lot of different people, and the sickos were attacking both of us. But, man, I don't think anybody could sit there and say, hey, man, you guys are wrong. That show was fucking something else, man, and not in a good way.
And it's too bad because it wasn't as if there was nothing redeeming or good about the show. I do think it was one of the weaker shows they've done, but they've just set the bar so high with their pay-per-views. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but there was good stuff on the show. And as was the case with Revolution, so much of it is overshadowed by what the conversation is coming out of the main event. And the main event used to be something that you could rely on with AEW, right? Not only are you going to get great pay-per-views, but they're going to have these kick-ass main events. And that has not been the case now the last 3 pay-per-views. I mean, you go back to World's End in that 4-way match, and that was the weakest main event they had on any pay-per-view all year last year. And then that led into Revolution, which we saw the garbage they gave us at the end. And then I would argue even worse, what we got on Monday morning, which is what it was, because you have a 5-hour show. This is what really angered me the most. And I said this when I did my predictions on the podcast earlier that day. I said, hell hath no fury like a podcaster, an angry podcaster who is going to sit up for 4 hours. I didn't know it was going to be 5 hours if you count the pre-show, to get Jon Moxley retaining the AEW World Heavyweight Championship and the kind of finish that we got. And then we got it. We actually got it. So I'm sitting there, why did I look all disheveled and upset? Because I was sitting there at 12:30 in the morning contemplating my life, and I just couldn't believe I was actually sitting here talking about the fact that Jon Moxley retained the AEW World Championship and will continue to retain, I'm sure, the AEW World Championship until we get to Texas in July. Because if it didn't happen on Sunday, it ain't happening until All In.
No, unfortunately, and sadly not. We will definitely get into the pros and cons. Listen, like Jason said, there were some redeeming qualities of the show, but I think we said the same thing. We both said the same thing collectively and individually. The one thing people are going to remember about the show that you put on is the way you end it. Revolution ended in a piss poor way, and this one ended worse. So that's all anybody's talking about, and nobody's talking about the fucking triple threat match. Nobody's talking about Kevin Knight's performance. Nobody's talking about Fletcher and Mark Briscoe having a banger match. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, Tony Storm, Megan Bain,
nothing.
And that's the thing. I mean, because the show is so long, and they try to fit so much in there. Many times you are left with that main event, and that's kind of the lasting image that you have when you go off the air. And I didn't think it was possible for them to top what they did at Revolution, but they found a way to do it. Somehow, some way, they found a way to do it. And I think I have a sense of where this is probably going. No one is saying that they don't have a story in mind or that they're just kind of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what's, and maybe some people are saying that. I actually think they do have a direction and a plan for this, but just because they have a direction or a story or a plan, A, doesn't mean that it's very good, or B, doesn't mean that the television that we are subjected to in the meantime is going to continue to just drive people into the ground. I think they genuinely think that this is great stuff, and this is somehow going to grow the audience. And I would be willing to bet you that if you polled the AEW, like in mass, if you polled the AEW audience, I'm not just talking people on Twitter, I bet that they would tell you that they like what they're getting and they enjoyed what they saw on Sunday. That's what they wanted to see. Tony Khan is giving them what he feels they want to see and what he thinks is good. I disagree. And I think that when you have a show that long and people are, investing their time to give them a finish and just to give them what you gave them there in Philadelphia at the end of that show is just a complete slap in the face.
It is not good. Chat wants more Angry Solid Monster, and someone said that I usually say quality over quantity. Yes, that's a foreign concept for Tony Khan. It's not going to be changing anytime soon, no matter how much we voice our opinions, but we will definitely get into it tonight, the pros and cons of Dynasty. We also have news coming out of SmackDown. We'll talk about CM Punk and the favor finally being revealed. Paul Heyman. Yeah. I'm sorry, Jessica.
I'm going to cut you off there because I had another thought occurs to me. The AEW pay-per-view schedule has increased over the years.
Yeah.
They used to have, 4, right? 4 events a year. Then it was 5 with Forbidden Door. What are they up to now? Maybe
9.
Is it 8 or 9, right? Somewhere in that range. I can understand it if you have quarterly pay-per-views where it works out to be 4 a year. Like they did at the beginning where it's like, we're going to have these long banger shows and try to fit as many people on there as we can, and we're going to give you so much wrestling, right? I don't understand why, as they continue to increase the frequency of these pay-per-views, why the need is still there to keep them as long and as packed as they are. I think that's part of the problem. They have more shows now than ever, but that hasn't changed, right? They haven't pivoted away from the longer shows and trying to get 10, 12, 13, 14 matches on a show. I think that's part of the problem. If you're going to have and run these shows at greater frequency, there really is not a need for you to go so overboard with it. And I think that's part of the problem too.
It is definitely part of the problem. I don't know why he feels he needs to do 13 matches and fucking main event didn't go on till what was it? 11:53 the bell rang?
I mean, dude, it was 10 minutes until midnight and they were first coming out. I have to listen to the Death Riders theme at 10 to midnight. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
It's almost like you're reliving the Vince McMahon 8-hour WrestleMania shows. It's like for what, a fucking dynasty show? And then I was one who's been very vocal over the years that I love AEW going to 5, 6, now 8, 9 pay-per-views, because normally when they had 2.5 months in between shows, it would be like a lot of those shows don't mean anything, and then they start building to the pay-per-view 4 weeks before the actual show. I felt like that was hindering their progress. And now that they moved to 9 shows, I felt like the shorter time in between, Dynamites will be more substantial. They'll tell more stories. Everything will be more compact. It's actually getting worse. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do anymore.
It's the classic case. Be careful what you wish for.
Jesus.
I mean, I think it works against the product, but they don't. They feel differently because they continue to do it.
It's crazy. We'll definitely get into that discussion, guys. I got a shout out. Oh, my goodness. Holy shit, indeed. Angel Alaga.
Have we been touched by an angel here tonight?
We have. I like that. $300 bomb by Angel Alaga. Oh, my goodness. He says, here's another super chat. The eulogies you both gave yesterday were so classy. As a cat lover, even though I never met or knew Kevin, I was so sad when I heard he passed away. Both of you guys are class acts, says Angel Alaga. Angel, thank you so much, brother. That is a lot of money. We are very fortunate to have your support, not only on the Sound Off and on OTS, but here on TNT, man. We love you. Thank you so very much, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Angel. That's very kind of you.
Thank you very much. And we got David Thiering in the chat, too. Shout out to David as well. And shout out to you guys, man. We're going to get into the discussion right now. We got 2,400 people in here. It's going to be a good night. I feel it. Super chats are open. Get them on in. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. We are halfway to the goal. We hit 1,000 every single week. That is not going to be a problem for you guys. So 1,000 likes is the goal. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Go check out Jason on social media and on YouTube. Everything you need for him is linked down below in the comment section and the description. And make sure you guys go and check out all the content on the channel. There's plenty of it. And we are going to get this one underway. Jason, where do you want to go? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I kind of feel like since we already touched on it, why don't we start on the AEW end and talk some Dynasty? When we go back to this very eventful weekend. When the main event started, I said 84 years later, it was time for the main event, because that's what it felt like. You know, the meme, the Titanic meme with the old woman. It's been 84 years.
Yeah,
that was me. That was me on Sunday night.
You know, normally, did you cover Revolution live after it was over? Or did you wait for the sound off?
I think I covered it live.
Okay. I think it was one of the more recent shows. You said, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to cover it on the podcast on Sunday, and then you made a decision to say, you know what, I'm going to go live, and this is what they give you. It's like they knew almost, like, we're going to fuck them. We're going to fuck them. 12:30 is going to end, and we're not going to get out of here till 4 o'clock in the morning.
It's just, and imagine like if you have a job where you have to wake up early the next morning, or if you bought tickets and you were in the building that night, and the main event is first going on at midnight, like it's a fucking UFC show or something. Like, I would imagine that those people are not going to be too thrilled either. You know, if they got work at friggin' 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys do it. We're still
it's a little bit different when you have those Sunday pay-per-views instead of the Saturday ones.
Yeah, I know. Some of you guys were suffering. We were suffering too. My whole Monday was shot, so I tried my best to catch up on some sleep. But even coming into tonight's show, it's like I just want to lay on the couch and do nothing and watch Netflix. But let's start with Dynasty. And We'll start with what we got at the top. We opened the show with Will Ospreay and Kevin Knight. How do you feel, Jason, about, because I look back at this show and I immediately called it out. It's like half the fucking show was basically a Collision taping. Not to say that Ospreay belongs on Collision, because to me, he's the best pro wrestler in the world right now. Some people may disagree with that because he's a glorified gymnast, according to some of these geeks out there. I think he's fantastic. There's nothing like a Will Ospreay match. Kevin Knight, I made a point on Wednesday that Kevin Knight was only in this tournament because he's Tony Khan's fresh, new, shiny toy, and he wants to get him over. And it was a very forced narrative. Instead of just letting Kevin Knight do what he's got to do, they brought him on in here like he's the second coming of Rocky Maivia. Look at this guy. He chose us over WWE, and now we're going to fucking show them that we got him here in AEW. Take that all away, he's still a great fucking talent. He's spectacular. And the match with Will Ospreay was a banger open. But as far as the Owen matches, did you feel like they did too many on the show and it gave it that Collision feel, or would you have saved it for the TV tapings to make Dynamite Collision a little bit more important?
I had no issue with them doing 2 of the 3, because you want to have Will Ospreay on your pay-per-view and you want to have Mercedes on your pay-per-view. The one that I felt did not need to be on the show was the Kyle Fletcher Mark Briscoe match. That one absolutely could have been left off for Dynamite or Collision. Do it on TV. And that was a very good match, but that one really didn't need to be on this show. I don't think they needed 3 Owen matches on this show. But I understand them wanting Ospreay and Mercedes on there. I have no issue with that. The Fletcher match, the tag team title match, was another one that felt like that was, it was a TV match. It was something that could have been done there. It makes all the difference in the world. If you take a couple of matches, 2 or 3, and you shave them off, I just think as far as the formatting of the show, it would have made a difference. It would have made a noticeable difference. And those matches they were fine, but I mean, there was nothing that said they had to be, on this card.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Ospreay and Kevin Knight opened the show. Great match. Kevin Knight, he's now 0-2 in his early AEW run. I don't really think that makes much of a difference, but I mean, you don't want to beat the kid 2 straight matches, even though he had a standout performance with Will Ospreay.
Yeah, well, you knew he wasn't winning this match.
I know.
I mean, you knew coming in. And again, to go to the point that you made before, it didn't bother me. Jay White, unfortunately, he got hurt, right? Shit happens. He got hurt. Look at Kevin Owens, right? He gets hurt. WWE, we'll talk about that later. They're going to have to pivot to a plan B for Randy Orton. So Jay White got hurt. The last match he had was against Kevin Knight, who, like you said, is the new shiny toy. He just signed with them. And they said, you know what? We'll plug him in there. It's got to be somebody who's going to lose, which is why we got Mark Briscoe in this tournament. It's why we're getting Brody King in this tournament, right? I mean, come on. That's the reason why they're there. And it was a chance for him to go out there and work against somebody who you knew he was not going to have a bad match with. And when it was over, I think it did help get him over. Now, what happens from here on out, we'll see. But I didn't have an issue with them, using him in that spot, even though he lost. When the match was over, the crowd was, in favor of him. The crowd was behind him. So I think it was a good night for him. But as with everything, the key is in the follow-up. Does Tony have a real plan for this guy?
After what we saw on Sunday, I'm going to venture off and say no, but
Probably.
There's no trust there. Yeah, I agree. It was a great match for Kevin Knight. And how do you feel, now that you mentioned, you made a good point there, how do you feel about, because we talked about this and said, we got to get Jay White in there, we got to get Ospreay in there, we got to get MJF, Adam Page, the top guns in this tournament for the biggest prize in the company, for the biggest show that they're doing all year. And he goes right back and does the same thing he did last year and makes predictable, at least in the quarterfinal rounds, predictable matches. Brody King, obviously, is not going to beat Takeshita. Kevin Knight, no way he was going to beat Ospreay. The other side, we have, what was it, Fletcher and Briscoe, and then we got Adam Page in the wild card. So we'll get to the wild card in a second. Are you disappointed that he didn't load this tournament up with top-tier elite guys and he made it very predictable, at least for the quarterfinals?
No, I mean, I think it was a little bit better than the way it's been in past years. I mean, you got Will Ospreay in there, who's an A talent. I consider Takeshita to be an A talent. So you got Ospreay, you got Takeshita. It was going to be Jay White. He got hurt. Nothing he could do about that. But he was going to be in the tournament. Hangman's in the tournament. We don't know who the wild card's going to be. Fletcher, he's not at the A level yet, but you can see he's kind of on his way. So I still think this tournament is pretty loaded up, and I feel the same thing about the women's tournament. I actually think that he did a better job this year than he's done in past years of having bigger names in the tournament. Now, what I have an issue with is someone like MJF, unless he ends up being the wild card, seemingly not being in the tournament and not having an issue not being in the tournament, because it would be one thing if you have qualifying matches to get into the tournament. They don't do that. Right? We had Will Ospreay come out on TV and say, I'm declaring for the Owen. And then Jay White said, I'm declaring for the Owen. Hangman said, I'm declaring for the Owen. Why wouldn't MJF declare? Right? I mean, he's been spending the last few months telling us he wants to win the Triple B back. It's that important to him. It just defies all logic, just because he's in this other side story here, or this other story with the Hurt Syndicate, that he wouldn't want to be in the Owen Hart tournament. That stuff, that annoys me.
Yeah, that irked the shit out of me too.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I said the same thing. And why would you want to make him the wild card instead of announcing him up front that he's in the tournament? What surprise would it be if MJF is the wild card? I'm expecting the wild card to be, we'll get to it, but one of three people. And I hope it's not one of them, or at least two of them. I don't really think it's going to be the people everybody's predicting who's coming on into AEW, Josh Alexander. But yeah, I mean, I think he did a better job with the women's tournament than he did the men. But we'll get into the breakdown of the tournament because I do have them pulled up here on screen in a second. Ospreay beats Kevin Knight. Great match. Great way to open the show. Everybody loved what Kevin Knight did. I do think that if they have any sort of direction for him, he could certainly be in that upper echelon in years to come, like Will Ospreay, because he's fucking unbelievable. But nobody expected him to win this match, and Ospreay does go on to advance to the semifinals. The other matches include Mercedes and Julia Hart. I said that Mercedes has been on, and Jason, quite of a hot streak with great matches. A couple of matches with Statlander. She had Momo's match, which was decent, and she's just putting on some really good in-ring performances. This one, it wasn't bad per se, but I would say this was the worst Mercedes pay-per-view match that we've seen in at least 4 months. And not to take anything away from Julia Hart, because I'm a big fan, and so is Jesse, of Julia Hart. She's just not there yet, and I do think that the skill gap between the two really showed on Sunday night, and I didn't really think it was all that great for Julia and Mercedes.
I think her working with someone like Mercedes, though, that's exactly the kind of person you want to see her working with. And I thought it was a good match. I would agree that it was one of the weaker matches that she's had. I still liked it better than the match Mercedes had with Britt Baker.
Yeah.
At Wembley last year. It's still better than that. That's still the worst. So, but compared to the matches with Statlander and some of the other ones you mentioned, I might have liked it better than the one with Harley Cameron as well. The one from Grand Slam. So yeah, it wasn't one of her best matches, but I still thought it ended up being a good match. And again, one of those matches where the result was not in any doubt whatsoever. There was a lot of that on this show, and it's kind of weird because I'm watching the show, and when we get to it, there was a false finish in the ROH World Title Match, and I'm sitting here and I'm going, I don't really like this, but wow, we actually got an unpredictable finish here. And then of course they reversed it, and then the only real unpredictable finish of the entire show was in the main event. So to go back to what I said before, be careful what you wish for. If you were looking for an unpredictable finish, you got it, but you got it in the one match where I didn't want it. Everything else on this show was actually pretty predictable and straightforward, I thought.
Yeah, well, that's a point of concern that Jesse and I have raised on Wednesdays. I just feel like these shows, especially these pay-per-views, when we get the weekly television, we see where everything's going. We know where everything's going. We know the outcomes before we actually get to the match. I think that's a major problem for them. And I don't know what other people think, but I honestly think they need to start fixing that. A lot of this show, outside of just a couple of the things that you mentioned there, were straightforward and way too predictable. And it honestly takes me out of even giving a shit watching it. Like, I know what's going to happen before it happens. And it's very blatant. It's not like they're even fucking with us. Toy with me a little bit. Give me a fucking surprise. Throw me a knuckleball or something. They don't do nothing. They just go, they're as predictable as fucking Randy Johnson. What's coming? 100-mile-an-hour fastball. That's it. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get great wrestling and a predictable outcome. That's their problem. Do you have a problem with that at all? Do you raise that concern as well on your end?
Well, as far as this, you're going to get great wrestling and a lot of predictable outcomes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was a little more unpredictable. I always tell people because I think they automatically assume, some fans do, predictable equals bad. That's not the case. I'm not saying that just because something is predictable, it's bad and it shouldn't be done. But when you have an entire card, let's say where every single match, or maybe all but one, again, you could see who's going over, you can see the finish coming from a mile away. Yeah, I think it takes you out of it a little bit, and it kind of takes some of the drama away. I feel that way about WWE sometimes too. They have that problem as well sometimes when it comes to predictability, or sometimes they play it too safe. So it's not just an AEW problem, but just talking about this pay-per-view here, it was very noticeable to me when I looked at the card and said, okay, I'm pretty confident that I know who's at least winning each of these matches. And then the one that I really kind of screwed the pooch on was the main event. And that was the one match that I was kind of hoping that predictable would win out at the end of the day.
Unfortunately, it did not. We'll definitely work our way there. Mercedes beats Julia. She advances to the semifinals. Ospreay beat Kevin Knight. He advanced to the men's semifinals. The other Owen match that took place on Sunday was Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe. That's Kyle Fletcher, Mark Briscoe. This was a great match, and Kyle Fletcher's fucking phenomenal, and Mark Briscoe's great in his own right. But like we said about 15 minutes ago, this match didn't belong on a pay-per-view, no matter how great those guys are. They just recently headlined a Collision where they had a banger main event, and Tony puts them back in the tournament for a rematch just coming out of that Collision main event, and feels like that's the right move to make. Again, predictable. Mark Briscoe's put in a tournament where he's just basically put in there to lose. He's done that the last two Continental Classics. Yeah. He's done that the last two Owens. It's like,
if Mark Briscoe is in a tournament, he's losing. That's basically it. Like, if he's in a tournament, he's losing.
That's pretty sad, man. He's too good for that. But Fletcher does go on to advance. Probably, if I was to give you a ranking of best to worst, I would probably say this was the second best match on the show underneath the triple threat match for the International Championship. But Fletcher wins. He advances. Very predictable and a great match as Fletcher is turning out bangers. I'm going to pull up the men's tournament now here. I believe this is the men's. That's the ladies. Let's do the ladies first. The ladies, Jason. Mercedes beats Julia. She advanced, and now she's in the semifinals. Conveniently, the one match that everybody wants coming out of this tournament is Athena and Mercedes, and they are both on the right side of the bracket. Now, I know you had pitched that it is going to be match number one, and that this one potentially could go to a time limit draw. And then we get the second match of Double or Nothing. Mercedes wins there, and then the third match takes place in Texas at All In, and Athena wins the TBS Championship. I actually am praying that happens because I think that's the perfect road for both ladies. And I've been a little bit more comfortable and understanding about not asking, well, where's Athena been the last 3 years? Like you said last week, and I think that's a good rational way to look at it. She's here now. There's no reason to go back and ask all these questions about why she hasn't been here the last 3 years. She's here now, and that's all that matters. Do you see, just speaking specifically on the right side, are you confident that's going to happen? Because if I was to tell you Jesse's opinion on Wednesday, he firmly believes Mercedes is going to blow through Athena, and she's going to beat Toni Storm and become a 5-time champion in AEW, and she's going on to All In to wrestle Toni Storm. I hope that's not the case, and I would rather you be correct, but how do you feel about this right side?
I'm pretty confident that the All In match he's predicting is not going to be the All In match. I could definitely see Mercedes, eking out a win and going to the finals and losing there, but I don't see Mercedes winning the entire tournament. So what I pitched, as JD alluded to, is that you have these two women meet. Their first match is in the semifinals of this tournament, and let them go. I don't know what the time limits are for the semifinals. If it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, let them go to a time limit draw. So that way in the first match, they wrestle to a stalemate. Nobody wins, nobody loses. But you get that first match out of the way, and I'm sure it'll be a great match, and there'll be people wanting to see it again. And then you run it back, probably a Double or Nothing. Now, there is a Ring of Honor pay-per-view coming up on May 2nd, Super Card of Honor, but the bigger show would be Double or Nothing. And I have no issue if Mercedes wins that match, so long as on the back end of that, when they get to Texas, Athena gets the win and becomes TBS champion. I think that's exactly the right way to go. I don't think that they have Athena finally on AEW television like this consistently to not use her in a major role on that show. It doesn't make any sense. Why is she here if the plan is not to get to that destination with her and Mercedes for the TBS title?
I don't know.
Why is she here now? It just doesn't make any other sense to me that they would finally have her, I say call her up, but they would finally have her on TV if that wasn't the plan. Like, there are people who firmly believe it's going to be Mercedes and Toni Storm at All In, and I don't see it, especially if we're already going to get champion against champion, probably title for title with Omega and Okada. I don't think you're going to do that twice on the same show.
I think a lot of people want whatever you're pitching to happen, but I do think on the back end, a lot of people are conditioned to believe what they have been given on television. And a lot of what we've been given is Mercedes now is 20-0, and she's just eating everybody alive out there, and she's just winning and winning and winning. So people are going to say, I think Mercedes is going to end up winning the tournament because that's what they've been conditioned to watch. That's the only reason why I think they're all going with Mercedes. But I think a lot of people realistically want the scenario that you're pitching to happen.
And again, have they specifically announced, like they did last year, that the winners of these tournaments are getting title matches in Texas?
Yes.
They have. Okay.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I mean, again, I'm not seeing and I know I'm applying logic to what may end up being an illogical situation, but if you apply logic to this, if Mercedes wins this tournament, she's guaranteed a championship match against Toni Storm, or whoever the champion is, in Texas in a few months at All In. So then what happens with Athena?
She goes right back to Ring of Honor.
Well, what a waste that would be.
It would be a waste.
That would be a fucking terrible idea.
I guess
they'll probably do it.
I guess Angry Salamonster is fucking living in the cave, and he's just waiting for Bilbo Baggins to walk in.
You know what? After what they did at the end of that show on Monday morning, I'm not sure why I give them the benefit of the doubt on these things.
Oh, man. So, final prediction, you're going to go time limit draw, and the right side's going to cancel itself out.
I think the right side cancels itself out. We end up getting Jamie Hayter and Chris Statlander in the finals, and I'm sure that'll be a great match. And I think Jamie Hayter is the one who goes to Texas and challenges Toni Storm.
All right, I'm going with that. I think Jamie Hayter is going to win the tournament. I think that's the right move. Hayter versus Toni. There's history there. The last time Jamie had the title is when Toni took it off of her. 18 months she was out.
It's time. It's time to heat her up. She came back in August last year. She came back at Wembley. It's been almost a year.
On the pre-show.
It's time. The time is, it's finally come. It's time to heat her back up, try to get the old Jamie Hayter back, and get her in a championship match on that show.
I agree. So that's what I'm going with. Jamie Hayter. Jason's going Jamie Hayter to win the women's. Oh, and the men's here. We already talked about Will Ospreay. He's in the semis. Brody King is just there to eat another loss. Said that Brody King is suffering 50-50 booking here, but that's as far as they see him. Takeshita and Ospreay, a rematch from Revolution last year, will be taking place in the semifinals.
Which was, I mean, a phenomenal match.
It was unbelievable. Takeshi's just incredible. He is like the perfect professional wrestler with what he does in the ring. He is so great. That's going to be a great match. Ospreay in the finals, correct? I think this is his tournament to lose.
Yes.
All right. So Ospreay's in the finals. We both agree on that. The right side, we already seen Fletcher advance over Mark Briscoe on the pay-per-view Sunday. And then this is what is interesting here, because Adam Page last year was the wild card, and now this year he's wrestling the wild card. Now, of all the choices that we have to choose from, Jason, you mentioned MJF. I don't really see MJF making sense. Why would you hide MJF behind the wild card? He's one of the more recognizable talents there. You put him in the tournament without hiding him behind a wild card, correct?
Right. Yeah. No, I'm not saying that he's going to be the wild card. I'm just saying unless he ends up being the wild card.
Yeah. Well, it's still an option. Sure.
He's not in the tournament, and it just defies all logic when you have people declaring why he himself would not declare to be in this tournament.
Yeah, that's a huge logic gap right there. So MJF doesn't really make any sense just based on what Jason said.
I mean, Mark Briscoe is in the tournament. Why would MJF not be in this tournament?
I don't know. Given Tony Khan's logic, who the fuck knows? So MJF is out. I'm not going MJF. Neither is Jason. The other names, I'll start with this one. Josh Alexander. I know a lot of people are like, well, Josh Alexander could wrestle Adam Page. And obviously we had, who was it? Will Ospreay came out and said that he can't wait to wrestle Josh Alexander, and it would be great. I think we all know that he's coming on in. Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful Select reported so. I don't really think that's beneficial to have him come on in and lose his first match, Jason. So do you think that Josh Alexander really is a realistic option here?
No, I don't think it's going to be him.
Okay, so it's not going to be him. I don't think it's going to be him either. The other two, are ones that make me want to vomit and make my skin crawl. First one, we'll start with this. Last year, Paige was the wild card against Jeff Jarrett. How likely is it that Jeff Jarrett is the wild card this year?
You know, I hadn't even thought about that, and I curse you now for even putting this out there.
Well,
I don't think it's going to be him.
Okay.
I can't say for sure, but I don't think it's going to be him. He's not the one I had in mind.
All right. Oh, well, I mean, it's still, I would say he's a 25% chance. He's not the one I'm going with. After what we got on Sunday, I shudder to think that now with the Bucks back in town, that the wild card could realistically, Jason, be scapegoat Jack Perry against Adam Page.
Oh, I think there's a very good chance that it could be Jack Perry. He's on my short list. As we come back to live here, that was the graphic for the Owen.
Jack Perry is the wild card this year, huh?
I didn't say that. I just said that I could very easily see him being the wild card. There's actually two other names that I have. I have a short list of 3 names.
All right. Well, he's the one I'm going with. Who are the other 2 you got?
This one is less likely, but after what happened on Sunday, I don't think we can discount the possibility that Swerve Strickland could end up being the wild card. And they do Swerve and Hangman in an opening round match in this tournament. I really hope that doesn't happen, because we see that their relationship actually might be improving. And I actually think the future has them as tag team partners, at least for one show. So I don't think that that's likely, but you can't discount the possibility that Swerve, after not winning the championship on Sunday, ends up being the wild card, and that's how he gets into the tournament. I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, I wouldn't mind another match with them with some high stakes behind it, but
yeah, but in the opening round though of this, I mean, that could be your pay-per-view main event on any given pay-per-view.
I ranted on Sunday night that should be the pay-per-view main event for All In, but if we're gonna get it there, that's just honestly a slap in the face. So I hope that's not the case. I'm Xing that one out. I don't want to see Swerve. Who's the other one?
Okay, so the other one may be a little far out there, but I'm going to throw Darby Allin out there. Now, I know we keep hearing all these reports that he is about to climb Mount Everest, or he's already on Everest. We haven't actually gotten any updates on him.
I think Denise Salcedo said April 15th is when he begins his expedition.
Well, no, that's the date that's been going around, right? And I've heard the same thing, but that's the only thing we've heard about this guy. So what if he doesn't climb the mountain? And, you know, this is what people think. He's been laying low now. They did the injury angle with him many months ago, but then as a surprise, he ends up being the wild card in this tournament. And the idea that they had seemingly from the moment they did that injury angle is for him to win this tournament and for him to be the one to go to All In and beat Jon Moxley. You don't think there isn't at least a small chance that this could end up being a surprise with Darby Allin in there?
Well, that is a realistic option. And if you guys remember, it was one of the Hammerstein shows. I believe it was on Collision. It was it might have been no, it wasn't Hammerstein. It was on the Dynamite back in November, I believe, October, November. Darby and Ospreay heralded as one of the best main events that they've done on Dynamite in 5 years. I think that's a realistic option. I think we could get a rematch there, and Darby goes over Ospreay because Ospreay got the win back in 2024. I could see that.
Yeah. So, of those 3 names, who do I think it will end up being? I think it will end up being Jack Perry. And I really hope it's not Jack Perry. Although if Jack Perry being in there probably means for sure that Hangman is winning. Can you imagine them doing Jack Perry against Kyle Fletcher in the next round? I don't see that.
No.
So if Hangman wins and he goes on, I mean, I have no issue with that, but don't discount the possibility that we're being worked on the Darby stuff. I mean, I know it sounds kind of far-fetched, but you still have people talking about how it's got to be Darby in the end, right? Maybe he's not here now and he won't be back for a couple months, but it's got to be Darby, to be the one to beat Jon Moxley to win the championship. And if he is climbing this mountain, and even if he's back in a couple of months and everything goes great, this little expedition of his, though, it really fucked up their plans. And I don't think that you just kind of put everything on hold. If the idea was to wait and have him be the one, it's just unfair. Given what we're getting on television in the meantime, if we're getting all of this possibly because the idea is still Darby, but he's just not around right now. Because if that's the case, it's like, you know what? He'll have his moment some other time, right? I mean, there's plenty of other people who could pick up the slack and get plugged into that spot. And I would hate to think that the only reason that all of this shit is happening is because we're just kind of waiting on Darby to come back.
Yeah, I agree there that it's a waste of time. It's a slap in the fan's face. I don't know why we're waiting on it. He thinks that he's recreating the fucking NWO Hogan and Sting angle, and Darby's going to come back and save the company from the Death Riders and Jon Moxley and be the savior that the company needs. How is this for a scenario here? Ospreay wins the tournament. He goes on to get Jon Moxley at the pay-per-view in Texas. Darby does climb the mountain. He comes back alive, hopefully. They have video and pictures of the AW flag being planted on the top of Mount Everest. He comes back, and Tony, as a great boss that he is, gives Darby a inclusion in the championship match and makes it a triple threat match at the pay-per-view. Is that a likely possibility because he climbed Mount Everest?
I don't like that at all.
Oh, okay.
I don't like that at all.
It would make the tournament useless then. It's like, what the fuck you wrestling the tournament for? You're just going to give this guy...
He puts a flag on a mountain, so who gives a fuck? So you're going to put him in the championship? What do I give a shit? Like, so you're going to put him in the championship match and insert him in there for that reason? No, the winner of the Owen will go on to challenge Moxley for the title at All In. It will probably be Will Ospreay, but if it's Hangman, Ospreay, whoever it is, it'll be Ospreay against Moxley, then that's the match. And I think what they do then at All In, very good chance that Will... Like, I wonder if Tony is looking at this, and maybe this is not the idea, like, I'm gonna copy them, but like if this in his mind in Texas is going to be like his WrestleMania 40, where
yes,
you know everybody wants Moxley to lose the title, right? And so you're going to have all these people running in. Bryan Danielson will be there. He'll do a run in. Because fucking Wheeler Yuta over here is still using his move every week, so we're going to get a Bryan Danielson cameo. He's going to run out and get a big pop, and we're going to have a whole bunch of cameos here. And then in the end, it's Ospreay or whoever it is who wins the championship. And that's kind of like their Avengers, kind of ending to the show. Maybe that's the way he's looking at this. Because I think Bryan Danielson will probably at least make a cameo. I don't think he's going to be wrestling on the show. But I could see him, a little measure of revenge on the Death Riders for what they did to him, showing up at All In.
So the master plan for AEW is plagiarism.
Could be, yeah. Could be.
Wow, man, what a bunch of creative geniuses over there, man.
Could be. So maybe what we saw on Sunday night was kind of like their, WrestleMania 39. And in his mind, it's like, well, it's just going to make it that much sweeter when it finally happens. See, here's the way I see it. The difference is that when you have an angle like this and Moxley in this role as the champion, and again, it's a subjective thing. I'm sure the AEW sickos, they love it. But when it is actively dragging down the shows and it's actively ruining the main event of pretty much every single pay-per-view that you are now having, I don't look at that as a good thing. I look at that as a bad thing.
No, it's
actively dragging down the show. And I know you're kind of, it's long-term. We're building for the big moment. And who knows, maybe it'll be a great moment and they'll pull it off. And that night it'll make for a nice moment. At this moment, though, I'm looking at the next 3 months of AEW television after the last 3 that we've had with the Death Rider stuff. And I am absolutely dreading, that this is going to be dragged out for another 3 months.
Well, you do know it's Anarchy in the Arena and Blood and Guts season. That's what season we're entering.
It is. Well, yeah. And we don't know when the Blood and Guts match will be. I mean, they did it in July once, like the end of July. I think once they may have done it in June, maybe. I don't know. It's around that time. It could be after All In. We don't know if it'll be before All In. But yeah, look, Anarchy in the Arena, it's pretty clear, I think, coming out of what they did on Sunday, what the Anarchy in the Arena match is going to be.
Yeah.
At Double or Nothing.
So Moxley does not get a title defense at Double or Nothing.
I don't think so, no.
Okay, good.
What's the point?
There is no point.
We already know now after what they did on Sunday. We know he's not losing until Texas. Like, there's no point.
Is there a pay-per-view in June?
No.
No. So Blood and Guts may be in June then.
Could be.
Yeah.
It could be. But again, to do Blood and Guts, like what, you're going to do it 3 weeks after you do an Anarchy in the Arena match?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Tony.
That's exactly what I think they're going to do. I don't know. Yeah, we'll get there. That's the main event here when we talk about the Dynasty stuff. Moving on, that's the Owen. Darby is a possibility for the wild card. We'll see what happens. I don't know if that's going to be this Wednesday or the following Wednesday, but the tournament is going to wrap up at Double or Nothing, and both the women's and men's finals will be taking place in Arizona at Double or Nothing. One of the bright spots of the show, Jason, to me, was this trios match. I thought the trios match was actually pretty fun. I don't give a shit about the trios titles. I don't think anybody does, really, but it was telegraphed. We saw it coming from a mile away. It actually happened at the show, and I thought they pulled it off actually very well. I thought this was a very well done heel turn for the FTR guys. Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood turned on Cope, and they are now heel. And I like the way that this was set up. So the Death Riders celebrated. They got out of the ring. Wheeler was left standing in the ring. Cope offered a handshake to help Harwood up and, congratulate them even in loss. Thank you for helping me. We tried. Rated FTR stood tall. Wheeler was about to leave. Harwood laid out Cope with a pile driver out of nowhere. So Cash, he was shocked, played it off, shoved Harwood down, and then obviously one thing led to another. They pick him up and they deliver the Shatter Machine, and that was it. Concerto, Cope left on a stretcher. They both turned heel. Cash mocked Cope's neck injuries by wearing a neck brace as he was being gurneyed out of the arena, and that was the last we've seen for now of Adam Copeland. I like the fact that Cash got angry at Dax and kind of teased it a little bit, and then the Shatter Machine came. I thought this was very well done, even though we knew it was coming for weeks now. What'd you think about it, and how you feel about the heel turn now going into Double or Nothing?
I was expecting it. I was holding out hope maybe Cope would be the one going heel in this, because I just think heel Cope and Christian kind of speaks to me more. But we knew that the direction probably for Texas was going to be a Cope and Christian reunion against FTR, and I'm sure that's where this is headed. The best part about this, it gets Copeland off television for a while.
Indeed.
And I think he needs to go away for a little bit. I think, how long, I don't know. Is he going to be gone for a month? Is he going to be gone for 2 weeks? 2 months? We don't know. I'm more curious if the direction is Cope and Christian at All In on the same team, how do you get them back to that point after everything that's happened? And if Copeland is going to be off TV for a while, how do you get them back on the same page? What happened? What has to happen here to where Christian, and is it a case where Christian goes babyface, or do they just kind of like temporarily set their differences aside to come together? And if so, why? I don't know how they're going to do that. That intrigues me to see how that all comes together.
Yeah, I've wrapped my head around that. I don't really know. The only thing I could possibly think of is, the lifelong friendship that they've had is more important than anything. And they did the one thing that a lot of people feared with Cope coming back after 9 years. And they attacked the neck. Maybe at some point he feels bad and realizes that all of this bullshit is not really worth it. That's the only thing I could possibly think of. But outside that, getting Christian on the same page as Cope, I don't even know how to even think about getting to that point, because Christian has been such a dastardly prick as a heel. I don't want him to deviate away from what we've seen as far as his character work on television to go alongside Cope as a babyface. I don't think that's going to work. I don't want him to lower himself to being a babyface like Cope. That's why I agree with you. I thought Cope turning heel would have been good so that he could bring himself down to Christian's level. I don't know how it's going to work in the opposite way. The one thing that they need to focus on, though, is keeping the integrity of the Christian character now, because this is probably some of the best work, if not the best work of his career. And how do you do that? I don't even think there's an answer to that question. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans, they want to see the reunion. I think that's something. That's one of the reasons I think why Copeland came to AEW, to work with Christian against each other and then eventually tag with him again.
And he missed All In last year, so this is going to be extra special for him.
Yeah, and so whatever they do, I don't think it's not going to be much of a heavy lift to get the fans into it, because they're going to think it's cool. We got Edge and Christian back together, CNC now instead of ENC. And so in the end, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But that obviously is the direction, and let Copeland go away for a while, because honestly, a lot of the work that he has done recently and a lot of the stuff heading into his championship match, it just bores me. It really does. And I think him going away for a little bit is the best thing. Get a little reset, come back, and then explore that story, whatever that story is going to look like going into All In.
FTR and Edge and Christian, or Cope and Christian, at All In. I do see both of them beating FTR and then I would envision a run at the tag team titles once again to close out that chapter of their career. I could see that happening, whether that's against the Hurt Syndicate or fucking Young Bucks possibly. Who knows? I could see that being the case as well. That's where it's going.
Well, I'm sure Tony was going to give the Hardys a run with the tag titles so that he could call them, AEW. They won titles everywhere else. I'm sure he wanted them to win the AEW tag team titles, and then Jeff, blew that whole thing. So I'm sure he is licking his chops at the idea that before this year is up, he could take his tag team titles and put them on Edge and Christian.
That's exactly what I feel is going to do. And Cope is out for now with the pile driver and the shatter machine and the concerto. Which is going to hopefully be a positive for now for AEW television, because like Jason said, his work is not bad. It's just fucking boring.
It's just boring. I mean, it's just boring. I mean, the fans will sing his song, when he comes out. That's fine. And then the bell rings, and we have these matches lately that they're not, they're not grabby. They don't grab you. No. There's nothing about them that's really exciting or terribly interesting. So if the story is there to support it, I think that'll be helpful. There really hasn't been a very good story for him lately. So I think this will be the best thing. Now, DB in the chat says Christian's group will turn on him and then Edge will save him. And that, absolutely, I could see that. But you still have the same issue that we just talked about, where why would Edge save him outside of just, hey, you know what? We've been friends for 40 years and let's just let bygones be bygones. Because this guy cost him the world championship twice in the last couple of months. So you still have to, kind of figure your way around that.
And he won a contract and stole the TNT title from him in, 8 seconds?
That's right.
I don't know,
He's a very forgiving friend, I'll say. Maybe he'll just
let bygones
be bygones,
Toni Storm, she defended the AEW Women's Championship against Megan Bayne. This was a good match. I thought Megan Bayne was presented like the monster that they have... presented her as over the last 2 months. The Megasis. She's very good. I don't like the name of her finish though. It sounds kind of cringy. Fate's Descent.
Fate's Descent.
Yeah, it's the F5. It's basically what it is.
Called the F6.
The F6. We'll call it that. This was a very good match. Toni doesn't really have bad matches, and Megan is very good at what she does. I thought that Megan looked strong here. She was the monster that she's been portrayed as over the last couple of months. The problem is, Jason, and I mentioned this in the weeks leading up because I questioned why they even gave Megan Bayne the championship match. They must not have had a lot of other options, being that they are conducting the women's Owen at the same time, so Megan Bayne was probably the best choice. The thing is, you built her up. First of all, you didn't even give us a reason why she's aligned with Penelope Ford 2 months and not one single explanation as to why, so we're still wondering about that. The only connection there is Joey Janela, number one. Number two, the fact that Timeless Toni Storm beat Megan Bayne clean with an inside cradle, and she lost already. She went 2 months, achieved the top of the division that everybody seems to be striving for, lost, and there's nowhere else to go but to the back of the line and to the bottom of the division. Now, I don't think it's going to be bottom of the division per se. I don't mean that in a negative sense, but you've already achieved what everybody wants, and that's a shot at Toni Storm in the Women's Championship. And they played that off in 2 months. I don't know what the rush was. I don't know why they were so hasty to get us there. But where does Megan Bayne go now? Because I don't think anybody believes Toni Storm is walking into All In without the Women's Championship. So even if they do a rematch, it's going to be more of the same here that we saw at Dynasty. Where does Megan Bayne go? And was this a mistake to do this match and championship match too early?
I mean, time will tell. We can't say it was a mistake yet because she just lost her first match. We have to wait and see what the direction is for her coming out of it. I would think they could get one more match out of it. And yeah, she's probably going to lose that too. The way they did the finish here tells me that maybe that's what they're setting up for. Because coming in, I figure, okay, she's losing, right? Maybe there's always the chance Toni is going to say, I'm going to strap the rocket to this woman and we're going to go all the way with her. But I found it very hard to believe Toni Storm is not walking into All In as the champion. So if they're going to beat her, the key is trying to protect her as much as possible. So they did that here in this match, right? She looked like just a monster. Toni was trying things and it wasn't working. And then she kicked out at 1 right on that Storm Zero, and Toni couldn't believe it. The only thing I wasn't really hot about was doing the roll-up finish when they just did the same thing at Grand Slam. That's how she won the title from Mariah May.
Yeah.
So, like, this is a second roll-up finish now. But then you saw what happened in the rematch between her and Mariah May. That was a decisive win. And I think maybe they do the same thing here. You know, they run this back. I mean, we still have a while yet until we get to Double or Nothing. I don't know if they would want to wait and do it there. But no reason they can't get one more match out of it. And even then, if Megan gets beat, you know, more decisively there, it all just boils down to, like, just make sure you have someone else for her to work with coming out of that feud. And as long as she's featured, you know, in a prominent way, yeah, she's not the world champion, but first of all, there is another title she could always go after, right? So that's number one. But number two, just come up with a story for her working with somebody else. Keep her looking strong. I don't know if they want to keep her and Penelope Ford together long term, if there's going to be a split there in the near future. I can't predict what he's going to do with her. I just hope that she doesn't, as you said, kind of just fall to the bottom rung of the ladder and have no direction after they did such a great job of building her up as a legitimate threat to that world championship.
Yeah, she's too good for that. Maybe a TBS title is in the future. Maybe they are planning on taking the belt off Mercedes, putting it on Athena, and then maybe we get Athena and Megan Bayne. That'd be a fucking great match. Now that I think about it, who knows? I mean, I would hope that's maybe in the pipeline.
Yeah, because again, you asked me like, well, where does she go from here? I mean, just look at the roster and take your pick. It could be any number of women that they plug her in there with.
I know, but I think the fear. I don't think this is going to happen with Megan Bayne because she hasn't really done anything to ruffle the feathers of Boss Man over there. But you know, I don't want her to end up like Camille. And I think a lot of people are thinking that she's gonna end up like Camille. Here today, gone tomorrow.
Well, I still don't know what the hell happened with Camille. I mean, that whole thing that's a mystery to me. It is just such a waste and such a mystery. I'm not even going to begin to wonder what the hell went wrong there, but I'm fairly certain that she will not end up like Camille.
Okay, well, I hope so.
Literally, Camille is off television and not even spoken of. Like, she was in a movie that had other AEW stars walking the red carpet, and her name was not mentioned once. It's like she is persona non grata in her own company. I'm fairly certain Megan Bayne will not end up exactly like Camille.
Unsolved mysteries of AEW. What happened to Camille? I don't know.
Do a Dark Side of the Ring episode on her AEW run.
I know. But yes, Megan Bayne.
Chris Jericho do the narration.
That'd be something. Megan Bayne loses. First loss in AEW. And Toni Storm is still the women's champion. We'll see what happens going into Double or Nothing. I could see a rematch, but you know, I don't know what Tony Khan's creative. Breezing through these next couple of matches here. I mean, you could not buy a fucking drop of emotion out of me here. Adam Cole wins the TNT title from Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia's run as TNT champion has been fucking complete shit. I don't know what they did with him. They hit him away on Collision. He didn't really have any substantial title reigns. I hope this is a turning point for Adam Cole. I love Adam Cole. I think Adam Cole is great. And him as a champion is a great sight to see. He's had a lot to overcome with the ankle injury. I don't know. We haven't really been conditioned to think otherwise. I mean, are they going to treat Adam Cole differently as TNT champion like the rest of them? I don't know. But Danny Garcia, I feel bad for him. Great wrestler. I don't know why anybody would care about his character. It's very vanilla. And I feel like they just gave him the TNT title, Jason. I don't want to put words in the guy's mouth or become a conspiracy theorist, but it feels like they gave him the title to basically sign the dotted line, come back to AEW for X amount of years, and they almost pretended like they had some sort of plan with him, and they didn't, which kind of sucks because he's a very good pro wrestler. Adam Cole, on the other hand, the ankle injury, won the title. Again, I can't really trust the creative process here to do much with the TNT title after it hasn't really felt important since the days of Cody and Brody Lee and Sammy Guevara. But how do you feel about Adam Cole winning the TNT title? Do you care at all?
I mean, look, I'm happy for Adam Cole. I felt like you had to have a title change here to shake things up because the TNT title has never felt less important than it does right now. And as far as the match itself, sitting here watching it, I felt nothing. It wasn't where I'm just like super into it. It wasn't a bad match. I felt nothing.
And so did Philadelphia because it was silence.
It was very quiet.
Yes.
So we're not the only ones who were feeling who were feeling the way that we were feeling. But I'm happy for Adam Cole. I'm glad they did the title change. I would certainly hope we get to see him a little more often, maybe on Dynamite, not just Collision. pretty much been a collision cowboy now for a little while. So maybe that'll change. And look, there's any number of people on the roster that could be challenging for the TNT Championship. I mean, they have a surplus of talent that Adam Cole could work with. You said you feel bad for Daniel Garcia. I mean, there's nothing to feel bad about, you know? I mean, he re-signed with AEW. I'm sure, you know, makes very good money on that new contract. He got a run as the TNT champion, and it just wasn't terribly interesting. You know, he had his shot. Now it's somebody else's turn. Maybe he'll get another run with it one day. But now it's time to move on and try to juice that belt up a little bit. Because like you said, it's just sort of it's been there. It's there. But the TNT title used to mean a lot more than it does right now. So maybe with Adam Cole, because he's a bigger name than Daniel Garcia, maybe that will be to his benefit as far as them coming up with actual like ideas and creative that will, you know, make the championship feel more important because he's a bigger name. We'll see. We'll see. I hope so.
I hope so too for Cole's case. So we'll see what happens there with the TNT title. Tag team titles, Hurt Syndicate beats Big Bill and Brian Keith. Should have never been on the show. They should have saved that absolutely for a collision taping on a Saturday night. The thing here is MJF tried to prove himself to the Hurt Syndicate that he is willing to do business with them and help them, and he was in the front row, and he decked Big Bill with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and then he quickly left the building, showing them that he is willing to help them. How'd you feel about MJF's inclusion here, Jason? I said this on Wednesday on the Go Home show. I just feel like MJF trying to prove himself to the Hurt Syndicate is not really needed when he's already made aspirations of going for Triple B. He's not in the Owen. He's messing around here with the Hurt Syndicate. I thought that he was going to use them as some sort of insurance policy so that he could get back to Triple B. Clearly, that's not really working out, and that's not in the vision right now. How do you feel about MJF in the Hurt Syndicate, or not even in the Hurt Syndicate, but working alongside? Where's this going? Is it leading to MJF and Bobby Lashley? What's the plan here?
Dude, if you wanted to get back the Triple B, I have an even better idea. You don't even have to rely on Bobby Lashley or MVP or Shelton Benjamin. I have a much better idea. You want to hear it?
Is that give Wardlow a call and bring him back?
No, it's enter the fucking Owen Hart tournament. There you go.
Well, I mean,
instead of entering the Owen, we had 3 first-round matches in the Owen Hart tournament on this show, and MJF is crouched down in the front row. Maybe
he didn't want to be in the tournament. Who knows?
I guess not. Apparently not, because he could have been. He chose not to be.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, man. A lot of questions here and no real solid answers. Do you like this thing with MJF and the Hurt Syndicate? Because I feel like it makes him look weak. I don't know what the ultimate goal is here. I'm not really clamoring to see a Bobby Lashley MJF match. I think that's just fucking ridiculous. How do you feel this is going to end up?
I don't know. The way I thought it might go, but what I was thinking is that Hangman would still be involved.
Yes.
And it's almost like he's out of this now. It feels like he's got his own story going on, and they've moved on. So I guess we'll find out. And so now if that's the case, I don't know where this ends. It's not going to end with MJF becoming a full-blown member of the Hurt Syndicate. But what the final destination is, I don't know. But it made sense to the extent that on Dynamite last week, when Bobby Lashley went face-to-face with him, he said, look, like, we don't want you, we don't need you, and until you can prove your worth, you know, basically, I don't want to see you. And MJF was like, okay. So him showing up here was his way of showing Lashley, hey, look, I could be useful. You know, I can bring value to what you do. So it made sense in the context of the story.
Does Bobby Lashley really need help against Brian Keith and Big Bill, though?
No. That's also ridiculous. No, he really doesn't. So I don't know. I don't know how this ends. I don't really look at this as something just to set up an MJF Bobby Lashley match. Where does that lead?
Are we the only ones bothered that MJF doesn't really have a solid direction going into their biggest show of the year? Like, I don't know. Like, that doesn't really sit well with me, man. Looking at the optics of everything, you got all the other guys positioned, but MJF is not really positioned yet in anything substantial at all.
Dude, outside of what he did with Will Ospreay last summer, MJF, ever since he came back, it just felt like he's just been wasting away.
Man, that
I'm sorry.
that American title stuff was great. I'm sorry.
The American title stuff was great. Both matches that he had with Ospreay were two of the best matches all year. I thought that was fantastic stuff. But even the stuff with him and Garcia, like everything else they've had him doing up until he had that match with Hangman, which I was very much looking forward to, and it was a very good match. This is a guy who should be one of your top 2 or 3 names in the entire company. One of your greatest, youngest stars, former world champion, longest reigning world champion in company history. And he missed whatever it was, 5 months with an injury. And outside of that one program, and then that one match with Hangman, what else has he done?
Nothing.
I mean, he's been so marginalized. It's like he's just been, and I understand, like, you go through cycles where some guys are featured and then they're not for a while, and then eventually it comes back around to them. But I don't know. I mean, just to kind of treat him and use him in this way just feels like such a colossal waste to me.
I don't understand it. It's another one of them unsolved mysteries. But I thought this was going to be the way to get the Bucks back involved. They team with Paige. We continue the MJF and Paige thing. MJF finds business in the Hurt Syndicate. 6-man tag. It leads to a third match with Paige and MJF. And then the Hurt Syndicate goes against the Young Bucks.
And I'm not like mad that it didn't go that way.
Yeah.
Because you see that criticism a lot. Oh, you're just mad because it didn't happen exactly the way that you wanted it to happen. It didn't happen the way that I thought it would happen. That's fine. But I don't know where the direction is going for him. So yeah, we'll have to watch and wait and see. But I sure hope it's something worthwhile, because if it leads to something else that's mid, then it's just another in a long line of things they've had this guy doing ever since he came back last year. He's been back now for almost a year.
Yeah, it's bad. It's just very...
Came back in May, I think it was, right? It's been almost a year.
Yep.
And I can count on one hand the number of great stories or feuds, whatever you want to call it, and still have fingers left over. To me, that's unacceptable.
Am I glad he moved on from Jeff Jarrett? Yes. I just don't think this is... relatively
That's another
good.
one I forgot.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. I forgot all about that.
I'm sorry. There's 2 Jeff Jarrett references on the show tonight. I'm sorry.
I had him cutting promos. Jeff Jarrett's out there cutting promos on pipe bomb promos on MJF. I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? At least they had enough sense to stop that and get him off TV.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Hopefully, hoping for the best there for Mr. Friedman. Kenny Omega, international title over Speedball and Ricochet. Best match of the night. It's not even fucking close. I said, Jason, that the last time we saw a triple threat match that was this good was...
Wrestle Dream.
Yeah, it was the one with Takeshita, Ricochet, and Ospreay. I think this one topped that. This may have been the best triple threat match in company history. Speedball's awesome. Ricochet's great. And Kenny Omega, I mean, everybody knows how great he is. This was awesome. No real substantial story coming into it. I think everybody was just basing this on how great of a wrestling match this was going to be. Speedball showed up. He looked excellent. Ricochet, he took the pinfall here. Not really too concerned about that. I just hope that they continue his momentum as a heel and give him some meaning and some importance in the months to come going into All In. But I think everybody kind of realized Kenny was going to win this. After the match, we got Okada coming out. There was stare down, but not really much of a stare down. Kenny Omega just basically got out. I don't know what the fuck happened there.
The babyface pulled a heel move.
Yeah.
And as soon as Okada, the heel, gets in the ring, Omega just leaves.
I thought maybe it was for time constraints. Maybe they went over. I have no idea. He was in and out. He wanted nothing to do with Okada. But I think we all know what the vision is. Unification match, hopefully, at Texas, All In. Okada and Omega. I mean, what else could we say? This was a tremendous match. If there's one match you guys got to go back and watch on this show, if you want to, it's this one.
Yeah, easily the match of the night. And it just reinforces what I've said previously, which is that this is the right place for Speedball to be. Like, AEW, I'm sure he had options, but between WWE and AEW, like the style that he works, it just fits better here. Like he feels like he's in his element here. And he hasn't been on TV for very long, and he's, already over. He's winning over the crowds. He's a tremendous, performer. Anybody who's followed his career already knows that. We see what Ricochet can do. Omega is still, one of the best in the world. You put those 3 in the ring together, it would be impossible for them to have anything but a great match. I love the spot where Ricochet was on the outside, on headset, and then Speedball's foot just comes from out of nowhere, just kicks him right in the side of the face. And then Speedball gets on the headset, which I think was broken, so you couldn't even hear him. But he's like apologizing to Tony Schiavone for, this Baldo over here. Are they still calling him Bald, right, in his matches? The bald chants
there was loud bald chants in Philadelphia, yes.
Okay, so yeah, he apologized for what he did.
That wasn't even the worst of the kicks, though. The crane kick that got him towards the end of the match. I mean, I think I felt that sitting on my couch.
Yeah, no, and Ricochet is like looking at him, go, "What are you doing? That's only in the movies." Then he gets his fucking face caved in. So yeah, this was easily the best thing on the entire show. And had I known better, if I would have turned the show off at that point, that would have been, you know what? I would have been okay with that. And I would have been like, all right, this is a great way to end the night. Yeah. But unfortunately, I didn't do that.
Yeah, Omega wins. Okada is the plan. Is Okada feeling less than lately? I mean, I see some people murmuring
you never
online.
See him.
Yeah, you never see him. I don't know what's going on there. I think he was basically brought in and paid multi-millions of dollars just to get this one match.
Yes.
with Kenny Omega.
Yes. More or less, that's pretty much it. And had Omega not gotten hurt, we would have already had it.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, like his signing, that's exactly the match that Tony Khan had on his brain, when he brought Okada in. And now he's going to have the chance to do it. And I'm sure it'll be great. It's been many years since we've seen it. But if you've never seen their previous matches, there's a reason why a lot of people made comparisons to Flair and Steamboat, and kind of called it like the Flair Steamboat trilogy of this generation because it was that good. They're both older now, and so I don't know how this match will compare to their past ones. But when Okada gets going, and we've seen it, he'll have matches on TV where it's like he's phoning it in, and even a phoned in Okada is still better than most wrestlers. But we've had a few instances, and I think the Ricochet match that they had, was it the Continental Classic semifinal, or the finals of the league, right? That they were in.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the better matches Okada's had, during his AEW run. So when he really gets going and he's in there with the right opponent, it's like the old Okada comes out. And so if anybody can bring that out of him, it's Kenny Omega. But pretty much anything these guys do between now and July is just, you know what the direction is. So there's not a whole lot of drama and wondering, are they going to make it to Texas with their respective titles? Okada, though, I just feel like we barely see him.
It's kind of sad. I don't know. I don't know what happens after All In. I think he's going to be like a non-entity on the show. It's sad that they brought him in just specifically for this, for Tony to fucking lose his mind over getting this match on American soil. I mean, what's the minimum here at All In? 30, 35 minutes for these two? 40 minutes?
You're going to have the classic Okada match, at least 40
is
probably what you're looking at there, because that was pretty much in the range of what most of his big main event matches were in New Japan. So, yeah, you're probably looking at somewhere in the 35 to 45-minute range.
So that's what we got to look forward to there. Omega retains the International Championship. Bandito beat Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Championship. And this is what Jason was talking about with the false finish. Go ahead. I know you got a lot to say.
I was just going to say, like, on a show where it was already going very long, this was the point in the show where I started to ask, like, how many matches are left? And then I look at the rundown. I'm like, oh, my God. Because it was this one. Never mind, because I don't have the order in front of me. It was this one, and then there was one more, and then the main event, right?
It was the triple threat, and then the main event. I, like you, after this match, didn't even, because the show was so fucking long, I forgot about the triple threat match. I'm like, holy shit, we got at least another hour here. It was already 11 o'clock, 11:30.
I was like, oh my God. And so I see these guys come out, and then I realize like how many matches are left. And they sent these guys out there, and they gave them almost 20 minutes. There was no reason for this match to go, I think it was 18 minutes. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I know it was Bandito's big moment, but there was no reason for this to go 18 minutes. And frankly, if you really want this to come off as a big moment, I have an even better idea. Put it on the Ring of Honor show.
Yeah.
Because it's a Ring of Honor World Championship match that should be in a main event spot. And you just so happen to have a Ring of Honor pay-per-view coming up on May 2nd that these two guys could go in there and headline, which they probably will do anyway, but it'll be a rematch at that point. Just save the match for the Ring of Honor show. This is another one of those matches that did not need to be on this show.
Jericho has made 0 appearances on Ring of Honor television. The last time he showed up on Ring of Honor was at Final Battle against Matt Cardona, and that was it. Really, I don't see what this title reign is doing for anything Ring of Honor related. But
well, remember what some of the people were saying, like why they put the title on Chris Jericho, because they felt like it's going to help us get a TV deal.
Sure.
Now, unless I missed it, and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't heard anything about Ring of Honor getting a TV deal. Have you?
I have not. No.
What happened?
I don't know. I think everybody was bullshitting.
Everyone was talking like this is going to help them get a TV deal. I'm still waiting on that TV deal.
Yeah, that ain't happening anytime soon. This false finish, I refrained myself from tweeting because I figured something was going to go on here. But Floyd the baseball bat got used, and then apparently this. I don't know if you felt the same way, Jason, but I immediately called this out after all of the fucking geek-like scenarios that Tony Khan and AEW have put their referees in. Apparently, Bryce Remsburg, who's the original official of this match, did not see the interference or the bat being used here for Jericho to retain.
He took a bat to the face, by the way.
Yes.
Okay, just remember that. He took a baseball bat to the face.
Bryce Remsburg didn't see this baseball bat spot. Aubrey Edwards is in the back. Like, whatever is going on back there, I'm assuming they all do the same thing. They're watching just in case anything happens. There's referees and personnel back there watching. All of a sudden, she, on this moment, on this night, after everything else that we've seen, on this night, comes on out, runs down, and apparently needs to attend to Bandito's mother and Bandito's sister, who then start yelling at Aubrey Edwards, "There's a bat! He cheated!" She goes over to the steel step. She pulls out Floyd. One thing leads to the other. We get the 21 plex. Bandito wins the championship in what was a false finish for this Ring of Honor championship match. Did you have a problem with the fact that they, in this one moment, did the right thing, but the previous 1,000 other moments, they didn't give a shit about reversing a decision? Why tonight? Or why Sunday?
What? Well, I mean, why not? Pro wrestling logic. Why would you have a stipulation in the Adam Cole-Daniel Garcia match that says no interference and not think, hey, you know what? We should probably have that stipulation for every match. Because people are interfering in every Death Riders match that we see on every fucking show. But apparently we're only going to apply that to the TNT title match. It's pro wrestling logic. It doesn't make sense? Absolutely not. It's like that, and I said this in my review, it reminded me, and I don't remember what the pay-per-view was, but there was a WWE event many years ago. And I know Alberto Del Rio was in the match. I don't know if it was him and Ziggler or him and whoever it was. But the referees pulled a monitor out from underneath the ring to watch the instant replay of something that had happened. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, why didn't they ever think of this before? Maybe this will be the new norm going forward. Did we ever see that again after that?
No.
Nope. It was one time, one and done. That was it. Does it make sense? Of course not. But they wanted to set up the feel-good moment for the end, and this is how they came up with it. It's ridiculous. But that's wrestling.
Bandito is the new Ring of Honor champion, and the amount of people that give a shit, I'm going to say, is less than the subscribers on Ring of Honor app. So.
It was the right move to make.
It was the right move to make. Bandito's my favorite luchador right now. He's just fucking cool. I think he's great.
The one-armed vertical suplex for, I think it was a minute straight.
Yeah, and Jericho's not a small guy either.
No, he's not. But what struck me is that they did the same exact spot in the tag team title match. Bobby Lashley, it wasn't for a minute, but Bobby Lashley also did a stalling, I think, one-arm vertical suplex.
It's more impressive. We expect that out of Bobby Lashley. It's more impressive with Bandito doing it, I think.
I agree.
So Bandito
and the crowd went crazy for it. They did not go as crazy for the Western back-to-back standoff spot.
No, because they did that spot twice before. So why would they pop over the third time? So
yeah. Plus, also at this point, it's like, okay, dude, what time is it? Like, can we get on with it here? We're having a standoff here in the middle of the ring.
It's crazy. What's his name? Bad Apple did it with Bandito the first time. It was fucking cool as shit. And then Jericho did it because he thought he's seen a fucking Bad Apple get over it. Let me do it. And then he ruined it. And then he ruined it. So it's like, whatever, man.
He got over with it. I will too. And now it's ruined. So
Jericho on TV has got to come to an end, man. Just fucking go away for a long time. Not saying forever, but a long time. We don't need to see no more.
What do you think his match is going to be? Because he's going to have a match at All In. So you think him against Big Bill, one-on-one?
God.
If he puts over Bill, I mean, at least that puts an end to the the learning tree stuff, and Bill gets a big win. I mean, whatever it's worth over Jericho at this point, it gives him a big win. At least that, like, okay, if you're going to do anything with Jericho on that show, that really is what they should do.
Yeah, I could see that. Again, I don't think we should be loading the show up with those kinds of matches, but I'm not Tony
look,
Khan.
to be fair, and look, I agree. Like, I don't need Jericho on my TV, certainly not every week. But this group has been around now for, a couple million years. And we could see that there are cracks in the armor, right? That's why I said, like, they're probably going to headline this Ring of Honor pay-per-view, if I had to guess. Unless they do Athena and Mercedes on that show. They're going to headline with Jericho and Bandito, probably in a rematch. And I can envision the Learning Tree guys trying to help. It doesn't work. It backfires. That's really where we get the implosion of the Learning Tree. And then you build, to Big Bill against Jericho. Bill beats him and breaks off on his own. I think Bill is very good. And I think that he could get over as a babyface. The problem is Tony Khan, his track record, when it comes to like the bigger guys, is not great.
No.
Not great at all.
No,
so that's the only thing working against him. But I think Bill should be in line for a push on his own, I think, as a babyface, and I think he could get over. It's like one thing we didn't talk about because we didn't address the pre-show. We had the return of Anthony Bowens, and he answered the open challenge for Max Caster, and the match was over in 45 seconds. But Bowens walked out there, and he looked like a star. He's got new music. He had new gear. The fans were really behind him. And I said this before the Acclaimed even split up. And I think you disagreed with me at the time. And I said, okay, I'm not saying Max Caster can't do something on his own, but I didn't see Caster as like the big kind of breakout star of the two. I said, I think it's Anthony Bowens. And I think Bowens has breakout potential as a babyface. And I still feel that way, especially after the presentation that we saw on Sunday. He could be somebody who in the next several months should be competing for and winning the TNT title.
I agree. I thought the presentation for Bowens was fantastic. He came out to Jane's Addiction, so he licensed another actual song. And the presentation, the 5-tool player, the pride of pro wrestling, I thought it was fucking great, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything about it just resonated. I didn't like the fact that they blew off one of the more decorated tag teams that they had. At one point, they were the most over tag team in the industry. Yeah. And their feud got blown off on a fucking 45-second pre-show match.
Yeah, yes, it's true. So
they did the same thing with Santana and Ortiz, and we know what those two guys are capable of in the story that they have. And LAX was much more successful than the Acclaim were, and they did them dirty. So
were they though? Because they never won the titles. The Acclaim did. LAX never won the titles.
Like before they came to AEW then.
But they at least had the chance to go out there on Rampage and have like a long, pretty good match, as I recall. I mean, as long as this has been going on to kind of kill this off in 45 seconds, and maybe we haven't seen the last of it, but Bowens has potential to be a solid babyface player, and he's one of those guys like a Kyle Fletcher, like a Big Bill, and they're doing very well with Fletcher. But I want to see these guys have that same opportunity because 6 months from now, we should be talking about them as climbing the ladder and being genuine stars that you can look at and go, hey, you know what? I could see this guy maybe one day, challenging for the championship. That should be the goal, to get all of these guys to that level. And I think Bowens has that potential.
Someone in the chat asked, Lewis Rick says, which Jane's song? It's Underground by Jane's Addiction is Anthony Bowens' new theme song. Main event time. The reason why we're all here. Main event. The AEW World Championship, which has been hidden away in a briefcase since Wrestle Dream in October. I don't even think there is a fucking World Championship in that thing at this point. I think it's disintegrated into dust at this point.
It's basically, yeah. It hasn't been kept at room temperature, so I think the leather is warped, and who knows? Who knows what's in there?
Let me start off. Let me go against the grain here. I want to start off and believe it or not, say a positive. This was a lot better than what we got with Adam Copeland and Jon Moxley the last two times out. So Swerve is a great big match wrestler, not only in AEW, but in the industry. I do think that him and Moxley had somewhat of a decent match. The fact that they started everything off with a fucking headlock, that took me back. I don't know why, after they were slamming Swerve on glass on Dynamite and they were talking about who the most dangerous man in AEW is. Let me start the match off with a headlock. So I was like, Really? Do we need to go that way? It degenerated, Jason, into something that, resembled a Moxley match, violence and ladders and chairs and all the other plunder, which I didn't really understand by match's end. Paul Turner was the official for this match. It started off a regular match, and then all of a sudden it just turned into a no DQ match where we got ladders and we got the big spot with the stomp off the ladder through the Spanish announce table. And I guess we'll start there before we get to the whole fucking reason why everybody shit on the show. What did you think, minus the time where the match started? It started at 11:53, and we had this show go off the air around 12:25 Eastern time. Don't know why they continue to do these long pay-per-views, but as far as the match itself, what did you think about the match, if you thought anything at all, because you were so fucking exhausted by the time we got there?
Yeah, you say it was better than the Copeland stuff, but it's like marginally.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, again, as AEW, I think the fans have been conditioned over the last several years to have certain expectations when it comes to their pay-per-views and their main events. And this is another one of those main events that just didn't live up to those expectations. So yeah, it was better than the Copeland match, but it's not like it's saying a lot. As a match, it was okay. It was fine. It wasn't anything special. Even before all the bullshit at the end. I was hopeful that it would end on a high note. But even up to that point, once they started pulling the ladder out and everything else, it's like, all right. Again, it's hard because you're so just beaten down at that point. It's so late. You've seen so much already. You've seen so much and so many near falls and everybody kicking out of this and kicking out of that. And now you get to the main event and it's like, what is this main event going to offer me that is any different or any better than what we got in the previous matches on the show, especially that triple threat match, right? Which, I mean, coming after that put them at a handicap right there. This didn't really give you anything that you hadn't already seen a gazillion times earlier in the night. So now I'm just sitting here at this point going, all right, can we please just, can we get to the point of this, please? And just let's get to the part that we're all waiting for. And then we got it. And then I was like, no, you could take it back. I don't really want this. Yeah,
this was like Jason said, it was better, but just a smidgen better. Strickland is in the ring. Paul Turner got knocked out. Adam Page power walks to the ring. He gets up on the apron. He looks at Swerve. He looks at Moxley. He looks at Swerve. He looks at Moxley. He's about to deliver the buckshot lariat, so he didn't know who to lariat at that point. From my vantage point, it looked like he finally landed on Moxley. And then all of a sudden, the Death Riders come on out. They take Page off the apron. He sidestepped a Busaiku knee from Yuta. Claudio and Pac get a hold of him. Page dropped Moxley eventually with a dead eye. Then we get the Ops, Samoa Joe, Hook, and Katsuyori Shibata. They come on out. They take care of the Death Riders. This leaves Strickland with Moxley in the ring after the dead eye. And we get Strickland throwing a chair at Moxley. Swerve stomp. Knee was so badly injured because of the ladder spot previously where Swerve jumped off the ladder with the stomp through the table on the outside. So there was no referee. At that point, the Bucks show up. After the lights go out, they come back on. The Bucks are in the ring, Matt and Nick Jackson. And they're holding Swerve by each arm, and then they deliver the EVP trigger. Moxley crawled over, makes the pin, 1, 2, 3, retains the championship. The Bucks left through the crowd. There's this great shot of Nick Jackson smiling and smirking like the prick he is, and there's this fan just giving a thumbs down right behind Nick Jackson. That was the sentiment felt by everybody watching this show up until 12:30 on Sunday night, Monday morning. Moxley recovered, and Strickland was left in the ring while Page was looking at Strickland from the aisleways. The show mercifully, after 5.5 hours, came to an end. Now, I know you, me, and everybody else, Jason, complained that after 5 hours, this is the ending that they decided on. And I went on a volatile rant, having my time wasted. I know you, in a much more calm yet direct and angry demeanor, said basically the same thing. After 5.5 hours, they wasted our time. And I fail to believe, as an avid fan of this product for 5 years, you the same. We've covered almost every Dynamite and every AEW pay-per-view that they've had. I fail to think that this is the best that they've come up with. Now, Tony Khan on the post-show media scrum was asked about if he thought about ever calling an audible, seeing the immediate reaction to the way the show went off the air. He said, I absolutely take fan feedback into consideration, and he believes the Young Bucks' return now creates intrigue for the coming weeks going into Double or Nothing. I'm here to tell everybody listening to us, and we have a large audience here like we usually do on Tuesday night. It is 3,000 plus in here. I'm here to tell you that Tony Khan certainly does not listen to fan feedback, because if he did, Jon Moxley would have lost the championship 4 fucking pay-per-views ago. The fact of the matter is here, I genuinely believe they fucked up. And it all goes back to even before Jon Moxley winning the championship. You could take it back to Bryan Danielson winning the championship. Now, I take nothing away from the main event of All In last year. I don't. If they wanted to do Bryan winning the championship, it shouldn't have been Jon Moxley winning the championship at WrestleDream. It should have been Adam Page. And Adam Page should have been the world champion through all the months that we have now had to suffer through up until where we see this show going into Double or Nothing. Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, in my honest opinion, Jason, should have main evented All In last year. That was not the case. We got it all out in the steel cage match, and they did not revisit that and Swerve move on to whatever he did. He took time off television, and Adam Page was feuding with fucking Jeff Jarrett on television. Should have been the main event last year. Page should have been the world champion. The AEW main event scene has not felt like a main event scene in almost, 10 months now? I can't stand it. These shows are so lifeless with him at the top. The storyline is literally the worst storyline in the history of the company. Tony Khan does not understand that. I don't know what he's putting all his eggs in this basket. I don't know what the return on investment is going to be. Like you mentioned before, he's waiting on Darby. I think that's a mistake. And I genuinely believe they had one priority here, and that was to take the title off Jon Moxley. And Swerve walking in, whether he wins or loses, is the proper representation that this product needs going into the biggest show of the year. And I know you and I talked about it. The Cowboy winning the title in Texas was a story that was too good to pass up. And they obviously are passing it up to team both Swerve and Page up against the Young Bucks in whatever tag team match may be at the pay-per-view in July. This is a fucking mistake. And Tony Khan telling us that he takes fan consideration as an important thing. The fact of the matter is the reason why we're so volatile and opinionated on what he does is for comments like that. That's a slap in my face. That's a slap in your face. That's a slap in everybody else's face. And that's the reason why we get angry with the product. And I don't think he understands that. And the fact of the matter is he understands it to a point, but doesn't give a shit. And that's what it boils down to. Tony Khan simply does not give a single shit. And that's why we're so angry.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really disagree with anything that was said there. It was just an awful way to go off the air after a show like that, as long as it was. And you know, again, you saw the reaction. After the end of Revolution, you saw the reaction. And I think what it boils down to is Tony Khan has had an idea in his head for what he wants to do at the end of that pay-per-view in July. And he is committed to sticking to it. Jon Moxley has been his MVP at various points throughout the last 5 years of AEW, right? When people got hurt, when there was controversy, when he needed somebody to put that world championship on, someone safe and someone stable, it would end up on Jon Moxley. And Jon Moxley has done well in that role in the past. And now I feel like in this role that he has been in this storyline, it has actively dragged the show down. But I think Tony Khan looks at this as you mentioned before, Hollywood Hogan and Sting. That's how he's looking at this. That's how this is positioned. If you want to use a Roman Reigns bloodline analogy, you can do that too. But it's like an NWO type of thing where you have the heel faction and they're dominant for so long. And who's going to save the company, right? Who's going to be able to take the world championship away from Hogan? In this case, who's going to be the one to take the championship away from Jon Moxley? We have now reached a point, though, as somebody who does watch the show week to week, and I'm sure many of the sickos out there will disagree, and they'll be like, well, you got to be patient. This is great stuff, right? The breadcrumbs have been left going back to when the Bucks were on television last time. This is long-term storytelling. This is great. Yes, you can find breadcrumbs that take us back to the last time the Bucks were on TV. Maybe they'll connect the dots starting this week, and some of these things will start to make a little bit of sense. That doesn't make it good. This is actively dragging the show down. We've been talking about this now for months. I look forward to certain things on Dynamite. Never do I look forward to anything, hardly ever anymore, involving the World Championship. Right? You have good heat, and then you have go-away heat. They have go-away heat with me when it comes to this stuff. If I'm wrong, and the vast majority of their audience feels differently, then you'll see it reflected in the numbers. Have we seen it reflected in the numbers?
No.
I mean, have we seen it reflected, whether it's TV numbers or whether it's attendance numbers? I mean, their pay-per-views still do pretty well as far as attendance goes, but in terms of like the weekly TV and stuff, we haven't seen that yet. And that's one of the first areas you would look at to see, okay, are we seeing a real, true, noticeable change here? And it's been kind of, status quo as far as that's concerned. So speaking as somebody, as a fan who watches the show and talks about, reviews the show every single week, it is consistently the worst part of the show and the one I look forward to the least. It's not a matter of, oh, I can't wait to see Moxley lose the championship because it's going to be this great moment. It'll all be worth it. It's not. Yeah, I'll be happy when he finally loses the championship, but it's something that should have already happened by now. And there's so many other talented guys who are either in the picture right now or could be in that main event scene. You will not have an issue putting together a worthwhile main event for your big stadium show in July that does not involve Jon Moxley. There's any number of people that you can plug into that spot and you will have yourselves a great fucking main event. But he thinks this story is great, right? The elite stuff was a fail last year. The elite stuff led into the Death Riders. And now they're going to try to tie the elite stuff into the Death Riders, which is where I think this is going. So the stuff with the Bucks shredding documents, right? That was the last time we saw them on TV. During the elite angle, right? The relationship between the Young Bucks and Swerve Strickland. Swerve disrespected them, right? More than once. I'm sure that when they tell that story, they're going to tie it back to that, right? They've not been fans of Swerve Strickland's. That's why they did what they did to him on Sunday. They will try to make some of this stuff make sense and tie it back to last year. But this time last year, we were sitting here, maybe a little bit later, we were sitting here talking about how awful the elite stuff was. It was awful then.
Yeah.
Just because you're tying it back to that, you're tying it back to something that was awful then. Am I wrong about that? Were you a huge fan of what they were doing with the elite stuff last year?
No, it was terrible. No, nothing about it was intriguing at all.
No. They had some publicity out of it after Jack Perry, attacked Tony Khan. He got dropped on his head. He was at the NFL draft with a fucking neck brace on. And so he got some media out of it.
Do you know when it picked up excitement? When they introduced Swerve and Paige into the fold and they got them into the fucking blood and guts match. That's when I became excited. Had nothing to do with the elite.
Right. And then the Death Rider stuff, it started with, they were using a lot of lower level guys who were getting beaten up, which, okay, I get it. You're not going to jump immediately into the top names, but it took a while for them to get to a point where you actually had big names, like main event caliber names who were being brought into this story to try to go after this group that is trying to do what exactly, right? They still to this day have not been able to kind of get these guys on the same page as far as what their mission is. Like, can you sit there and tell me what is the real true mission of the Death Riders in AEW?
The true mission of the Death Riders is in the name of the group, death. It's death to AEW.
To bring death upon AEW.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
Okay, now I will take you back to that one segment they did a couple months ago where they were in the basement and Renee was there interviewing them and she's interviewing Claudio. And remember what Claudio said in that promo? He goes, we're not here to kill AEW. I mean, this is a misconception that people have. That's quite the opposite. We're not here for that. And then the very next person she interviewed was Pac. Remember, he was sitting in a sauna by himself. And like they asked Pac, and Pac's answer was, we're here to burn AEW to the ground. And I'm like, the members of the fucking group can't even agree on what the actual mission of this group is supposed to be.
Oh, this is so bad. Listen, you mentioned the Swerve thing and the fact that Swerve disrespected them. The only people that are going to care about that are the diehard 400, 500,000 people that watch the show. I think everybody actively knows the Young Bucks are a down point when they are on television. And the fact that they are now basically reliving what they used to do when the tag team division was so great and revered, the Bucks versus Paige and Omega. One of the best tag team matches, if not the best tag team match in the history of that company at Revolution. I forgot what, 21? Fucking unbelievable. Now they're just replacing Omega with Swerve. Hangman's still in the fold, and they're just going back and trying to relive former glory. To me, I don't like that. And to go back to your point about Jon Moxley, You know, look at what Roman Reigns did over 4 years with the Universal Championship, the WWE Championship. He felt like legitimately the bloodline shit was just really weighing on everybody's nerves. It reached a point where you knew it had to end, but they kept it interesting on a week-to-week basis. But Roman Reigns holding that championship for 4 years never felt, to me anyway, maybe you feel different, maybe the chat feels differently, it never felt that I needed to take the belt off Roman. Even when he dropped it to Cody, he kept it so interesting, and he treated the championship like a fucking unbelievable, like, I have to have the championship. Anybody who beats me for this championship is going to be like God. Roman made that championship feel special, and look at when everything came together. 4 years was defeated. Cody won the championship. A story. It was never like, oh my God, Roman lost the championship. Thank God, in a bad way. It was like a celebration in a good way. We're looking at Jon Moxley now, and this is basically his bloodline. We're looking at it as, I don't want to see Jon Moxley lose the championship because this is a great story. I can't wait to see Jon Moxley lose the championship because it's fucking actively killing the television show. It is two completely different situations, and I don't think people really understand that.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to compare the two, the thing with the bloodline is, first of all, there were different moments where they could have taken the title off of Roman, you know, against McIntyre or Sami Zayn. So you could definitely argue that, sure, they could have taken the title off him earlier, but then they wouldn't have been able to do what they did at WrestleMania last year. And the payoff at the end was great. It did work out in the end. The bloodline stuff got to a point where it was like, okay, now we've jumped the shark, and it's time to kind of wind this down or move this on to another phase. But you look back at that story, and they were able to create stars out of that. Like, Jey Uso would not be in the position he's in right now were it not for all the stuff he did as part of the blood, whatever you think about his status, you know, as a main eventer right now. But I can, like, off the top of my head, I can at least think of a handful of compelling segments that made for great television during the bloodline, even though, again, it went on for longer, I think, than it may have, you know, needed to. I look at the Death Rider stuff, and there's nothing. Like, I cannot point a single segment to you that I will look back on when this is all said and done and go, well, it was all worth it because there was, at least that we had some great television or compelling segments that came out of it, or whether it was a promo or whatever it was. Nothing. And maybe in their eyes, the star that's going to be created when this is all said and done is Wheeler Yuta. Do you honestly believe that?
No, nobody wants that.
Right, of course. But they may look at it that way and say, well, when this is all said and done, Yuta is going to come out of this as like the big young breakout star from this group. Good luck with that.
Yeah, but how do you even, like, those words out of your mouth? How does that even resonate with anybody? I mean, you're saying you're saying it, and they're putting all of their eggs in Darby Allin and that basket. Meanwhile, no new star has been created. No great television has been created. People within the group have looked worse because of this fucking storyline. Nobody that challenged Jon Moxley looks better off for it. So what exactly is the return on investment here for Tony Khan? Darby Allin? One Darby Allin championship victory is worth all of this fucking, the sinking ratings and the terrible television and not one star being created. It's worth that for him?
I don't think so, but evidently he feels differently.
That's awful. That's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
I mean, it's awful. Dude, it's awful. It's awful. And again, the diehard AEW fans, they love it. I'm sure most of them, maybe some of them don't, but the majority of them love it, and they're enjoying it. They're going to enjoy virtually anything that they give them, though. It's just I'm failing to see where, when this is all said and done, we're going to end up having probably 9 months of this. I mean, think about that. And when that's over, are we really going to look back on this and say, you know what? In the end, it was worth it, because not just for whatever the payoff is at All In, whoever wins the title, whether it's Ospreay or Darby or whoever, are we really going to look back on this and go, okay, this company is in a better position now. This company was left in a better place now for having done this story going back to last fall?
No.
Nobody in their right mind is going to be able to say that.
No, they're gonna have more problems when they crown a new world champion, because they have to clean up the mess that they did for 9 months. How are they going to get to where they need to be after cleaning up 9 months of mess from Jon Moxley? I don't think that's even possible.
Well, I mean, anything's possible, but my concern right now isn't what's going to end up happening in July, which I'm sure he'll lose the title. I should say this, though. There are some people who think he's not even losing it All In. They think that they're waiting for Wrestle Dream So it'll be a year. And they'll do the crowning moment for Darby at WrestleMania.
Can you imagine?
No. But then again, I sat here and I told you a few months ago, I can't imagine them dragging this out until July. And so here we are.
Boy, they're really testing our patience to stop covering Dynamite if that's the case.
I put nothing past them. I put nothing past. He thinks this is great stuff. He thinks this is genuinely great television. This is what he thinks.
I don't know. Listen, at the end of the day, coming out of this show, changes need to be made. Jason already had alluded to a couple of them. These shows, if they're going to go 5.5 hours, they need to be from 8 p.m. Eastern time. They need to be 7 p.m. I don't give a fuck what he has to do. 7 p.m. needs to be the start time. If you want to go 4 hours on pay-per-view plus a 90-minute pre-show before the show starts. 7 o'clock.
They don't need to be 5 hours.
No, they don't. No.
That's my whole point. That's the point I made earlier, which is that they're running more pay-per-views now than they ever have before. There is no need for these individual shows to go that long. People will be able to they'll be able to absorb what you are giving them better if you scale down a little bit and don't feel compelled to have fucking 10 or 11 or 12 matches on every fucking show.
Yeah,
that's the point.
That needs to come to an end. I don't understand. If you want to do something like All In going 5 hours, fine.
Fine.
Once in a year, fine. Double or nothing, whatever, fine. But Dynasty, 5 hours? No, we can't have that happen. If you want that, 7 o'clock needs to be the start time. 8 o'clock can no longer be the start time.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the point. You have a big signature event, that's fine. Look at Wrestle Kingdom every year, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like you're doing Wrestle Kingdom every fucking month.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
There doesn't need to be these overabundance of matches because you and the fan base expects great pro wrestling and real graps. Fuck that shit. We need to stop booking these shows as if it's a glorified TV collision taping. We half of this show on Sunday did not need to happen. Jericho Bandito could have easily been saved for Ring of Honor. Fletcher and Briscoe going 20 minutes, that could have been saved for Dynamite. I don't understand why he takes away from loading the weekly shows up and having them mean something and just throws everything on pay-per-view. Like you said, Ospreay, Mercedes, those are givens on pay-per-view, so I don't even really mind that. But fucking 10 matches on this show, and we go off the air at 12:30. Something needs to be done. And the people who complain about Paul Levesque giving us 4 or 5 matches, you can complain until you're blue in the face. The fact of the matter is, when he does that, you can say that you want more, but I would rather feel that I want more instead of being completely drained by the end of the night watching 12 or 13 matches from AEW. And the fact of these shows going so long, they don't even book the matches to feel different. It's like I said this on Sunday with Jesse. It's like I'm watching a rerun of the same match happen 13 times over. Nothing stands out on these shows. So how do you want me to sit there and cherry pick? Oh, that was great. That was great. That was great. What stood out on this show? A heel turn from FTR on Copeland. A great match from Ospreay because that's exactly what he fucking does every single time he's in the ring. And the fucking shit ending that we got. That's what stood out.
Yeah, well, that's also part of the reason why I said when we talked about the Adam Cole match with Daniel Garcia, I felt nothing.
No, stories need to be told. I don't know where they're going into. Hopefully he listened because he gauges everything on Cage Match. The Moxley Swerve match got a 3 rating out of 10 on Cage Match, and the overall show I think got like a 4. So if he's looking at that and really takes fans and their criticism into consideration, he better start now on Wednesday. And he's already booked Wednesday's show, and it looks like a decent show. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He needs to give us the exact reason as to why these guys are back. And I don't even think it is even going to be feasible to make sense of it. You mentioned Swerve. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they can. I'm not really holding my breath on that, but this was a disaster of a show. It's not the worst pay-per-view that they've ever done, but it was the most emotionless show that they've done, and the worst ending maybe in AEW history. That's the way I feel. So, moving on, let's talk about SmackDown. We'll start with this, Jason. Ray Phoenix. What did you think of Ray Phoenix's debut? Was Nathan Fraser the right opponent for Ray Phoenix on Friday Night SmackDown? I thought the debut was great. Wasn't the most perfect match that we've seen from Phoenix and Fraser, which is, he's one of the best that they got in NXT. But I thought the styles compared Phoenix and Penta, the 2 different debuts stood on their own. I actually like what they did, man. 2 different debuts, 2 different types of matches, and I thought Ray Phoenix really did a good job.
2 different debuts, but a lot of similarities between the 2 of them. Even with the entrance, they both got pyro.
Yeah.
You saw them take somebody in Chad Gable and put him in the ring with Penta, knowing that like he was the best possible opponent for Penta in his debut. Nathan Frazier is great. I think that especially when it comes to those dives that he does, he needs to slow it down just a little bit. Obviously, he got his feet caught in the ropes, and that could have been very bad. But outside of that, yeah, I thought he was a very good opponent for Rey Fenix. And I thought Phoenix looked great. Just like with Penta, they gave him mic time in the ring, right? It was like Jackie Redmond, I think, got in the ring with Penta after his debut to interview him in the ring. Here it was Byron Saxton. And he got to speak to the crowd. But you could see the emotion on his face. And we've talked about Ricky Starks and what he went through just sitting on his ass at home, wanting to leave and go to WWE. And now, by the way, he is the North American champion. So congrats to Ricky, already getting his first taste of gold. You could see the emotion on Phoenix's face. He's been waiting a long time for this and probably didn't think that he would be allowed to be in this position this soon. So he was genuine when he was talking about, being proud to be here in WWE, and like, that's a shoot. Like, that was real emotion out of him on Friday. So I thought it was a very good debut. I know there were reports. Well, first of all, he's going to be wrestling, is it Berto, I think, on
Friday,
SmackDown?
yeah, Humberto Carrillo, yeah.
And that'll be a great match, too. There was a report, I don't know if it was Meltzer or who it was, who mentioned Andrade.
It was Dave.
And I don't know that Dave said that was going to be his first match. I think he may have said that was going to be his first program or feud, which it could still be. And I think that would also be a great match to do. The key is going to be, can Phoenix stand on his own in the way that Penta has and find the same success that Penta has so far? I don't know that he's going to find the same level of success as his brother as a single. But as far as getting him off to a good start, you couldn't have done a better job, than what they did with him on Friday. The question now is, do you think he gets a WrestleMania match?
I don't.
Yeah, it's weird though. Like, why debut him now if he's not going to be a part of the WrestleMania card?
I think SmackDown, they just wanted to get him, affiliated with the show and in front of the audience. They want to get his face and his name out there.
In front of the Chicago crowd?
Yeah, which is basically AEW's second home away from Jacksonville, yeah.
Well, it was smart to do it then because the Chicago crowd they're one of the best wrestling crowds in the country.
Yeah.
So, and you could tell there were a fair number of people who knew who he was. I mean, he got a great reaction coming out. So again, the stars aligned, I thought, perfectly for him on Friday. He'll beat, Berto. They'll have another great match on SmackDown this Friday. And we'll see if it ends up being Andrade or who it ends up being. My money was on Carmelo Hayes. So it'll be one of those two, probably, his first proper program. But one match doesn't mean, it doesn't really give us an indication of how his overall run will be. I do like the fact that if they're going to push him as a single, keep him on separate shows.
Yeah, I like that aspect. I wasn't really going to go for that. I would much rather see the Lucha Brothers on the same brand. But the more that I got to think about it, I'm like, look at what they're doing with Penta. They're giving him a big star treatment. He's got a big WrestleMania match now confirmed, Intercontinental title, Fatal 4-Way. Phoenix is on SmackDown. They're building their individual stars separately on Raw and SmackDown so that when they do come together as the Lucha Brothers, they will be better off than when they were in AEW's The Lucha Brothers. There'll be two bigger stars for it. So I actually like the whole process. I think it's a fair move to make.
Yeah. So I thought it went very well. And we got another vignette for someone who I'm sure is Aleister Black. We got a little glimpse of kind of a face or like a silhouette this time in the new vignette, but nothing further as far as any sort of date or anything specific. But I think we all know, he's coming in imminently.
I'm looking forward to that. I don't think he'll be at WrestleMania, but I know we'll get to Raw, but I know Kaiser is throwing that he wants a WrestleMania match and a WrestleMania moment, and I don't know if he's going to be the one to have an open challenge on Easter Sunday or Saturday, and Malachi could certainly be an option there. Rusev, we'll get to Rusev. He is now officially back with the company.
But let me say this. These vignettes have been airing on SmackDown exclusively. So if he's going to be a SmackDown guy, Kaiser is a Raw guy.
I know. I guess just put him on WrestleMania and just move him back to Friday when it's over. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Well, you don't want to see a black mass in 3 seconds and then Kaiser goes 1, 2, 3?
I didn't say I didn't want to see it. I just said that they're on two separate brands.
I know.
So does that even matter at this point?
Usually you say, who gives a shit? They break their own rules anyway, right?
I guess so.
We'll see. I don't know. Ray Phoenix, going to be good. Looking forward to what he does in the coming weeks for sure. Really enjoyed his debut. What I did not enjoy, and I know you felt the same way, was the fucking absolute disaster of a Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton face-off here. And there's two separate reports that I want to go over here. One from our buddy Dave, and then one from Sean Ross Sapp, which was tonight's report on the Tiffany and Charlotte face-to-face. So apparently, this went viral on social media. Fans just ripping this shit apart. Some of the highlights of this, Jason, were Stratton told Charlotte she would always come second to her father, Ric Flair. And when it's all said and done, you're just going to be like you are outside the ring, alone. Stratton also discussed Flair's personal life, asking, "What's your record now, Charlotte? 0-3?" Mentioning her divorce record. So she's 0-3 in the marriage department. Charlotte was the one who came back with, "Is that why Kaiser is in my DMs?" No, Kaiser is not in your DMs, A. B, he'd be a fucking fool if he was.
You don't know that. You don't know that. I mean, there could be somebody, there could be Roger Kaiser, there could be John Kaiser. You don't know that. There could be somebody named Kaiser in her DMs. It's just not Ludwig.
No, it's not Ludwig at all. After the segment, WWE removed these lines from their digital video recaps. WWE posted parts of the segment on social media and YouTube, but did not include the final comments between both Tiffany and Charlotte. The USA Network social media accounts shared the original footage. Now, Meltzer says this on the Observer Radio, and I quote, "There have been problems between the two for about 2 weeks. Tiffany didn't make it." No, I'm joking. Oh. So people knew about it, and I mean, you can even, one thing about this is it also shows a complete double standard in how people view things. Because if this same thing happened on AEW, well, the blame would still probably go on the people in the ring, of course. It would largely go on Tony Khan. For if it was him, you've had 2 weeks to figure this out, to get these people on the same page, blah, 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 blah. And they went out there and they just went off the rails. And both of them, do you know what I mean? It was like Charlotte is getting, or Ashley is getting more of the blame, and probably deservedly so.
Was this, wait a minute, hold on, was this written in the Observer, or this sounds like it was coming from maybe the radio show, right?
But they both are getting blamed for it. This is transcribed from the radio show, yes.
Okay, I was going to say, because if it's written that way in the newsletter, that's
I struggle reading anything what he
I was struggling listening to that. Okay, all right, that makes more sense at least.
Yeah. I don't know why he brought up AEW in this. I mean, it was fucking shit. It was shit. Okay, so Sapp puts out a report right before we went live, and he said he heard a lot more details regarding this SmackDown promo, which largely lines up with the Wrestling Observer and what Meltzer was saying. The general consensus backstage was that Charlotte Flair went off script first, calling herself the Nepo Queen, which didn't really garner that much heat. However, when Charlotte began mocking Tiffany's voice, a number of people backstage felt like Tiffany Stratton needed to fight back, but that going, the whole thing went personal to a degree without it being cleared was ill-advised. Neither the line about Charlotte's marriage nor Charlotte's Ludwig Kaiser line was cleared. Charlotte addressing the crowd booing her directly was also not planned, but was called run-of-the-mill ad-libbing that would never get anyone any heat. Digital producers were instructed to edit the personal relationship references and Charlotte making fun of Tiffany's voice from the YouTube editions. The general reaction backstage was some confusion when Charlotte emulated Tiffany and general oh shit when Tiffany and Charlotte got deeply personal. There was heat on both women for the situation, which was referred to as a train wreck. We didn't hear any issues backstage afterwards. Many at Raw got a laugh out of Ludwig Kaiser being a good sport and playing up the entire situation. You know, Jason, the one thing that got to me is not even the fucking Kaiser shit and the 0-3 line by Tiffany. It's the fact that when Charlotte was out there, and I didn't listen to your SmackDown review, so I don't really know how you felt about certain parts of this. The one part that got to me was when Charlotte was being booed viciously in Chicago, and she uttered the line, "What else do you want me to say, Chicago? What would you like me to say?" That, to me, showed everybody watching exactly what we're working with here. Charlotte didn't need to win the Royal Rumble. She cannot handle any criticism and is completely uncomfortable with the reaction that she's getting because she knows that it is warranted. And the reaction that she's getting from the fan base is not really particularly in the heel type of heat that she should be getting. It's go away heat. She knows that. And she got flustered by it, and she did not know how to combat that. Now, if you go look at someone like Logan Paul, who is viciously hated for, reasons for what he's said and what he's done on social media and his certain different things that he's involved in, nefarious things that he's gotten involved in, people don't like him, but he is out there and he plays up the crowd who are booing him viciously, and he plays it off well. And he's not even fucking doing this 3 years yet. There's a clear difference for how you work the crowd when they're booing you like that and what not to do. And I think Charlotte showed you what not to do. That's the one part that stood out to me. After all this, I could not give a single shit about this match. And honestly, I feel bad for Tiffany because I feel like Charlotte is putting her in these positions on purpose, and it's trying to get a rise out of Tiffany for whatever reason. And I don't really understand what the point is, because it's coming off in a situation where both are looking bad. Charlotte should be in a position now back to be building up every other woman on that roster and making them better off for it. Charlotte felt like she could come back in and get handed the Rumble and get handed this and get handed a championship match, and she's going to assume her position because of who she is. Meanwhile, the whole landscape of the division has changed, and she refuses to see that. Tiffany is the star now. You should be doing everything in your power to build her up while also making yourself look good. And Charlotte is completely treating it as just her, and fuck Tiffany Stratton. I genuinely feel bad for Tiffany, and it resulted in this train wreck.
Train wreck is the word that I use to describe this segment as well. There are some people who would say, well, isn't it kind of convenient that Charlotte was just on the Sherry Shepherd show, which was the talk show that Tiffany referred to in that promo, and she was talking about her divorce. And then at the end of this segment, she brings up her, 0-3 record in marriages. Could this be a work? I don't think it was. And the reason is because this is not the first time this has happened with Charlotte. This is not the first time this has happened with her since she came back. I think it all goes back to that first promo on Raw right after the Royal Rumble. If you remember what happened there, she came out and she was talking about the injury that kept her on the shelf for 14 months and how devastating it was and how tough rehab was and trying to make a comeback, not knowing if she'd be able to make a comeback. And the fans' reaction to this was to boo her. And she looked like she was caught off guard by it even then. And this is a pattern with Charlotte where she doesn't respond well when the crowd reacts in a way that she's not expecting or overwhelms her in some way. I'm watching her in this segment. Now you mentioned Logan Paul, Dominic Mysterio. We see him on TV, and how long has Dominic been doing this for? Relative to Charlotte, he gets nuclear heat, but I think that's more in the vein of like people just enjoy booing him, whereas the heat that she gets is go away, get out of the ring and get off my TV. But like, it's the sort of thing as a heel that you would think that they would just crave, right? That kind of reaction. And she just freezes. And you saw what she did in this segment. She gave up at the end of all of it. She's like, you know what, Tiffany, I'm going to give you the last word. And I had a good laugh at that because Charlotte Flair giving someone the last word, give me a fucking break. And of course, she did not allow Tiffany to have the last word, but she was so gotten to. And I just don't understand it because how is she related to Ric Flair, one of the greatest of all time, and on the microphone when it comes to his promos, right? One of the all-time greats. And yet she has been doing this for 10 years, and this is how she reacts when the crowd overwhelms her with boos or overwhelms her with a negative reaction. She doesn't know what to do. She's completely lost. And so that was where things really began to go off the tracks. And you're going to hear different reports. Sat mentioned Charlotte went off script first, or I don't give a shit who went off script first or what. If you do a segment on TV and you start shooting on the other and you can make it entertaining, fine with me. We've seen that before too, right? We've seen people go out there and it gets heated in a legitimate way. Fucking Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels back in the day. If you could find a way to make it entertaining, I'm okay with that. Entertaining is not a word that I would use to describe what we saw on Friday night. And Charlotte, of course, is listening to what Tiffany is saying, and she's probably boiling over with rage on the inside. And Tiffany, for her part, I thought she did good. She did not do good in that split screen a couple weeks ago.
No, you heard a little bit more of the real Tiffany Stratton. She had that Minnesota accent at some point on Friday night, and she got rid of that whole Valley Girl thing for a little bit. I hope that she continues to build on that, because that's the type of Tiffany I want to see.
That's what I was looking for, because my big criticism of her promos since she went babyface is that she herself never went babyface. She hasn't evolved at all.
Yeah.
And her promos are really the weak part of her game. So I thought she stepped her game up in this segment. And she had that last line. She said, woo, dropped the mic, rolled out of the ring. And then Charlotte has to get the last word in. And her throwing that line out there about, oh, is that why Kaiser slipped into my DMs? As Tiffany is no-selling it and ignoring her and just walking away and posing with the title, it was sad. It was such a desperate attempt to just kind of get the last word in and get the last shot. And I wish someone made the comment, maybe it was Dave, I don't remember who it was, that it was kind of akin to a fighter who was KO'd in a fight, but didn't know the fight was over, and they were kind of flailing around and stumbling around. That was Charlotte at the end of that segment on Friday. Everything that we've seen with these two has been awkward and uncomfortable, and not in an entertaining way. No. Not in a way that makes me more excited to see them wrestle at WrestleMania. And for Charlotte, as you well know, this is not the first time she's been involved in an awkward segment, right? Think of the belt swap with her and Becky.
Oh, my God.
Which also got heated and was very, very awkward. So this is not the first time that we've seen something like this with this woman. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's almost like she wilts under the pressure in these situations. It's saying nothing of her in-ring work. I'm just talking about when she is put in this position, she just doesn't respond well to it. And so I thought Tiffany made her look really bad. Charlotte trying to get that last line in was just fucking pathetic. My only hope here is that they have better in-ring chemistry than they do when they have a microphone in their hands, because they have none. I can only hope the match is better than what we've seen so far. We have what? We have SmackDown this Friday and then next Friday, and that's it. I have no interest in seeing them do a fucking thing on these shows. Keep them as far away from each other as possible.
I said on my Friday SmackDown post, I keep them off TV until WrestleMania, honestly.
It's the best thing to do at this point. Because every single time we see them together, it's a train wreck. It's awkward. It's like, what do we, and then let me ask you this. Okay, because I went off on this. What was with the squeaking and the squawking that Charlotte was doing in this segment? She's in the middle of the segment. She started to like imitate Tiffany, and she starts making these weird noises. I thought she was morphing into some kind of creature here. And she's standing there, and I can't even replicate. I'm not even going to try to replicate what she was doing. It was almost like a defense mechanism where she didn't know what to do. And so I'll just start making these weird noises. And Tiffany's probably standing there going, oh, I got this one in the bag. I don't know what this woman's having a meltdown over here. The whole thing was just so fucking weird. But to your point, does it do anything to get you more excited for WrestleMania?
No. No, you mentioned when someone or two competitors go off script and they start shooting on each other, and it just kind of devolves into throwing real shots at each other. You know, sometimes it could go the way of what we saw with Tiffany and Charlotte, and the other times it could be very entertaining. The two things that really come to my mind, and I know you and I both loved the segment, was McIntyre, Punk, and Rollins when Punk was hurt, and McIntyre gave you that great one-liner. You know, you're injured so many times, something about him being in rehab. And that to me sticks out. And then he mentioned something about being the chosen one. What's his name? And you know, that type of shit to me just pops me. I love that. And then the other one is Punk and Eddie Kingston. You know, Eddie Kingston is known to go off the rails. And when they had their little mini feud, when Punk was there, he was throwing some shots at Punk. Nobody wants you here. And kind of, it felt real. Like, that's the type of stuff that I find that I mean, I said it on social media. I'm not the biggest Charlotte Flair fan. I think a lot of people know that. If she disappeared today, I don't think anything is. I genuinely believe this. I don't think anything is lost. She doesn't add anything to television. If this is what her television segments are going to be, she's better off not even being on the show. And nobody's excited about this match. Now, the thing is, Jason, when we get to WrestleMania, there's no conceivable way that Charlotte can win the championship. I mean, I have to think that Tiffany's going to win the championship, because I think at a point, especially after this segment, WWE's probably reassessing their decisions. they may be thinking that Charlotte in this position is a fucking mistake. I don't know how you feel about what they're thinking, but has things changed now? Has feelings changed going into WrestleMania?
I don't think so. I think Triple H is a big Charlotte Flair guy. He's a big Ric Flair guy, and I think he loves Charlotte. And no, I don't. I actually don't. And, you say that under no circumstances should Charlotte Flair be winning this championship at WrestleMania. Brother, it's 50-50. Like, she could very well walk out of there with this championship.
That's what I'm afraid of.
With the idea of this being like a 2 or 3 match program. Absolutely. 100%. I could see her walking out with that championship. It makes things maybe a little interesting as far as the match, because we just haven't seen them in the ring together one-on-one. Like, Tiffany has had some great matches. Charlotte has had a lot of great matches. We look at the match she had with Rhea Ripley a couple of years ago, right? That was fucking great.
One of the best women's matches in company history.
In the history of the company. So let's not pretend like Charlotte doesn't have anything to offer, okay? She can go in there with anybody on that roster, any of these up-and-coming women or any of the established ones, and we know what she can do in the ring. I'm not talking about her in-ring ability. I'm talking about everything else and everything that we've seen so far, which the entire point of it is to build to this title match at WrestleMania and get you to want to see Charlotte Flair against Tiffany Stratton. And it just has done nothing for me anyway. It's done nothing to get me more excited to see them in the ring. That's why I say I hope their chemistry in the ring is better than what we've seen on the mic so far. But if there's a genuine dislike there, I mean, look, I'd like to say they're professionals and Charlotte's been doing this long enough. The match should be fine. But who knows? I mean, if Charlotte really doesn't like this woman or feels like she's being upstaged, is she going to, work with her in a way that benefits her and makes her look good and not Tiffany, right? When really the goal here should be to try to give Tiffany the best possible match that you can do, because Tiffany's the 25-year-old who's on her way up. And the goal should be to continue to build her. I mean, she's already the champion, but still, continue to build her. Try to give her the best possible match. Is that going to be Charlotte's goal, going into this match? I don't know. So I'm curious to see how the match turns out, but don't for 1 second think that Charlotte Flair is likely to not walk out with that championship at WrestleMania, especially because she's got to pad the resume. I mean, what is she up to now? 14?
Yeah, it'll be 15 if she wins. Yeah,
she missed 14 months, brother. She's got to pad that resume and get her closer to 17.
I don't know. I think you're playing with fire if Charlotte wins that. I don't even want to know what the volatile environment's going to be if she walks into SmackDown after WrestleMania as the champion.
Well, I just hope that they have a better match than Charlotte and Ronda Rousey had at WrestleMania 38.
Yes, that was pretty terrible.
As much as I'll praise 39. I don't see anybody talking about 38. So hopefully it's better than that. But yeah, please, for the love of God, just keep these two apart and away from each other. If you want to interview them separately and let them cut promos, just looking at the camera, that's fine. You put these two together, it's like oil and water. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, keep them off television. Give me a music video with some cool music over it, some vignettes, some highlights of whatever we've seen, and call it a day. Speaking of calling it a day, I hope it's not for Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens came out and he announced that he is missing WrestleMania and he's going away for a very long time because of neck injuries. He's got a severe neck injury and he's going to take some time off for surgery. Owens said that it is unfortunate timing as he was looking forward to facing Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Owens sincerely said that he was sorry and he didn't know when he would ever return to the ring. And Orton came out, and the fact that they did not touch, which I predicted earlier in the day, I did a little video on it. I said if they are going with this and it is legit, I figured we get the punt kick Jason on Friday, and we did not as a way to write him off television. They did not touch. It was almost as if Randy Orton gave him his own sign of respect in his own way, and they went their separate ways. Randy Orton then RKO'd Nick Aldis after Nick Aldis says, unfortunately, Randy, you do not have a spot at WrestleMania. Now, the growing speculation is, I'll start with this. I know what your answer is going to be before I even ask it. A lot of people tend to think, I don't think this is the case, by the way, that this is all a troll job and Orton's going to come out and Kevin Owens is going to come out and play this all off as one big fucking plan. I don't think that's the case. Did you hear that rumor?
It's not a rumor. It's just people on social media who just think everything is a work.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, it's not. It's real.
It's not.
Yeah.
And actually, we did get more details about it because Owens actually recorded a podcast with Robbie Fox on his My Mom's Basement podcast. And he recorded it the day of SmackDown, but it wasn't being released until the next day. So he was very open about things. And, he was very specific about the nature of the injury. And he said, look, I expect to come back. My 2025 is probably done. Probably not going to see me again, but I'll be back in 2026. He said the biggest bummer for him, well, there's two. Number one, he really wanted to work Randy Orton at WrestleMania this year. They actually worked last year, but you had that other guy in there. So that other annoying guy was in the ring with them. He was hoping to have a one-on-one match with Randy, but he seemed to be more upset about the fact that he won't be able to wrestle John Cena because they had some great matches back in 2015.
They did.
And this is it for Cena, and it doesn't look like he's going to be back in a wrestling ring probably for the remainder of the year. So Owens and Cena, we're probably not going to get to see that ever again. But it was interesting because I'm watching this speech, and it was a heartfelt speech, that he gave in the ring on Friday. Maybe it was something he requested. Maybe that's why they did it this way instead of shooting an angle or something, because they could have done something off camera, which I think would have been disappointing if we get a punt kick off camera.
Yeah.
And then the camera pans over and he's just laying there. So maybe this is something Owens himself wanted to do. I know he was very upset that it got leaked earlier in the day. He wanted to come out and make the announcement himself. But I'm watching this and I'm going, man, of course. Like, if you watch that ladder match that he had with Cody, the bumps that he took in that match. Remember the finish of that match?
Yeah, the powerbomb off the table to the ladder.
Right, head first, right through that ladder bridge on the outside, like the abuse in that match. And then to go from that 1 month later to an unsanctioned match and everything he and Sami Zayn did to each other at Elimination Chamber. Like, I'm not surprised to find out he's got a neck injury. But in this interview, he said, no, it wasn't from either of those matches. It was in a regular match on TV in January. And he didn't say who it was against. He only wrestled twice in January. Once was against Rey Mysterio. Once was against Jimmy Uso. And I went back and I watched that Mysterio match, and he mentioned two bumps that he took during this match with whoever the person is. And the way he landed, he knew, okay, that didn't feel too good. Like, it was very jarring, and he said, okay, something's up here. And there were two bumps like that in the Mysterio match. So just think about it. Like, he takes all these crazy bumps in those two matches, and I'm sure that didn't make his neck any better. But that's not where it happened. It happened in a regular match on TV, probably against Rey Mysterio. And he said he knows it happened there because he had an MRI in December just to have one, just to check and make sure everything was okay. And the MRI, as far as his neck and everything, came back fine. And then all of a sudden, now he's got neck issues. So it looks like it happened in that one match. It sucks. I feel sorry for him. I mean, there's never a good time to get hurt like that, but right before WrestleMania, obviously that's pretty shitty. And so now we're heading into a WrestleMania, no Kevin Owens and no Sami Zayn, both of whom headlined night 1 2 years ago. They're not even on the show this year. But he said it's going to be spinal fusion. He didn't say what is being fused, but that's usually up to a year, probably. So it's a legitimate injury. I mean, I know wrestling fans are conditioned to think everything is a work. In this case, it's not. I wish it was, but in this case, it's not. Hopefully, he'll be able to come back better. He has been one of the unsung heroes in this company over the past several months. Last year, it was Drew McIntyre. Owens is in that conversation. McIntyre, Rollins, Owens, at various points over the past year, they have been, I think, in some ways underappreciated.
Yeah.
But the work he's put in over the last few months against Cody, the promos he's been cutting, the promos from his car, has been some of the better stuff that we've seen on WWE television. So it sucks. Randy Orton took the pile driver and was kept off TV for 4 months to build to a moment that now we're never going to get. But injuries happen, and you have to be able to pivot to a plan B. And I think what you saw on Friday night, that's your plan B for Randy Orton.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Kevin Owens, the fact that I didn't know it happened in a regular match. I thought it was the Cody powerbomb off the table through the ladder. The fact that he got injured before the Rumble and then did that match and then did the Sami match at the Chamber, and he was already injured. Like that's fucking crazy to even think about.
With a neck that needed spinal fusion, he took those bumps.
That goes to show you how fucking much Kevin Owens loves this shit, loves the fans. Like you said, underappreciated is a great word. You plug him legitimately into anything, and he fits no matter where you put him. He is absolutely one of those go-to guys that will do anything and make it feel special. And I personally am going to miss him. I think he's one of the most important figures of the last 10 years in WWE. Some people might not think so. The way he looks, the way he wrestles, Kevin Owens is absolutely one of the best the company's had in the last 10 years. And there's not even a fucking question, or anybody should question anything about that. He's fucking great. And I'm sad that we're not going to get that match, because that was one of the matches I was looking forward to most at WrestleMania. And now we're looking at potentially Orton and Nick Aldis, which this is not the first time Nick Aldis was RKO'd. The fact that this happened once before tends to lead to maybe this match happening. Now, Jason, the Aldis match is on everybody's mind, and that's what the speculation is now with the fans. The other one is Malachi or Aleister Black. Orton going into WrestleMania, having an open challenge. Out comes Malachi or Aleister Black, and they have a match, which I think works, but also not at the same time, because, I don't think Malachi should be losing his first match back. So I think the safe bet is Nick Aldis. That's a WrestleMania moment in itself, because Aldis is fit to wrestle. They put him in this GM role because they didn't really have a spot for him on television, and he was back when Vince was still kind of mixed in. But now that Vince is out, I would love to see Aldis back in a pro wrestling capacity, and I think that is a moment in itself. And he's one of the best storytellers that they probably have in the company. He's not even doing anything. He's a GM. I think a match with him and Orton could really be special. The only thing that I'm kind of looking at here as a holdup is the fact that there really isn't much of a story. There's a couple of instances, but 2 weeks to tell a reason why they're wrestling at WrestleMania, is that enough for you?
It's fine. You know why? Again, this was unforeseen, and injuries happen. So they had a long-term story with Orton and Owens. Owens is hurt. He can't wrestle. So you have to go to a plan B. There's nothing else. There's no other person that they can put in the ring with Randy Orton at WrestleMania that's going to give you the story you're looking for, the long-term story you're looking for. It doesn't exist. Okay, and they're not doing Orton and Cody. So you've got to go to a plan B. Nick Aldis, he got RKO'd once before. He fined this guy $50,000, right? You probably remember. Orton handed him a check for $100.
Yep.
Aldis said the fine is $50. And Orton made the comment, and this is like 2 years ago now, but Orton made the comment, that's for the next one. So we saw the next one on Friday. We know Aldis can wrestle. I know it's on short notice, so I'm sure he keeps himself in good shape. Is he in ring shape? I don't know. It's 2 weeks, but you already got a little story there. And it gives Aldis, his first WWE match would be a WrestleMania match, which would be huge for him, and working Randy Orton, no less, one of the biggest stars in the company. But here's why. You don't have to overcomplicate this. The injury happened. There's no better opponent for this guy right now that is jumping out at me. You mentioned a Malachi Black or somebody new. That would be, I think, a terrible idea. Because as I see it, the next pay-per-view is in St. Louis. It's Backlash. Very good chance that Randy Orton is going to be in the main event on that show. Possibly even challenging for the WWE title. Whoever he wrestles at WrestleMania, he's got to win. So I don't want to see him in there against somebody who's just debuting, like Aleister Black, who then goes in there and loses. Right? Not that there's any shame to losing to Randy Orton, but I wouldn't beat him in his first match. Nick Aldis is a safe choice. He's not even a full-time wrestler anymore. He's the GM. He gets his WrestleMania moment. The two of them could probably have a pretty good match, and Orton gets to win because he needs to win if the plan is for him to be in the main event on the very next pay-per-view, which is like 3 weeks later. It's not an ideal situation, but I think it's the best solution to the problem.
Yeah, so that's where we're possibly headed. I agree. I said the same thing in regards to either Nick Aldis or Malachi. I'm not going to really make too much of a non-issue here because the 4 months, probably longer than that, of story between Owens and Orton is now no more. And if you're crying about where's the story, I mean, they got 2 fucking weeks till WrestleMania. What do you want? So that's exactly what we're getting. I got no problem with that. It's going to be good to see Nick Aldis back in the ring again. And that hopefully will start to take shape on Friday's episode of Smackdown. The other big thing that happened on the show is the favor. And the favor was finally revealed. CM Punk Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, triple threat match night one of WrestleMania. What is the favor? The favor is that CM Punk wants Paul Heyman to walk him down the aisle and be in his corner at WrestleMania. And there was a big ordeal where Roman Reigns didn't really believe that Paul Heyman would do that, but Punk, the master of his craft that he is, harkened back to a conversation that they had, and Fightful posted the promo. It was Heyman and Punk, and Heyman said right to Punk's face, when you main event WrestleMania, I promise you I will be walking you down the aisle, and that is what's going to happen. Now, I know we discussed this every which way, Jason, what the favor is going to be. We got Punk in the main event. Is he going to get a championship match? Is the winner of this match going to be added to Cody and John Cena? Is there going to be a number one contendership hanging on the line here? Winner gets a shot at Backlash, whatever the case may be. The fact that it was the favor was definitely a 50-50 split, with Heyman being in Punk's corner, and that was the favor. How do you feel now looking back at it now that it's officially announced? Are you feeling the same way you did before, or are you warming up to it a little bit? I know I kind of called that and said that's probably what it is, because everything else just didn't make sense to me. I don't mind it, and I feel like with everything that they're doing right now, they're telling a good enough story to a point where the match itself feels important without anything on the line. Plus, they did the favor with Rollins and Heyman last night, that Rollins is now supposedly asking for a favor. So they got that tie-in, and Rollins is acting a little heelish and a little villain-like, so that aspect is there now. How you feeling about the overall thing now that it's finally out there?
Boy, everybody is asking for favors these days. I think you owe me a favor, by the way.
What would that? Yeah, what would that be?
I don't know. When I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Another real American beer.
On second thought, maybe not. No, look, it's fine, but it's still underwhelming. I'm going to stick with what I said before. For something that's been teased and dragged out now for several months, for that ultimately to be the favor, I do feel it was a bit of a letdown. You can actually hear it in the crowd, by the way, because as hot as they were for Punk, and they were in Chicago, when he finally announced what it was, like the reaction, it wasn't what you would expect it to be. So I think even the fans were like, all right. Like, you can accept it, and there is the long-term aspect of it, but it's still kind of a letdown. But the story is there because remember when Punk was, when he agreed to be on Team Roman in War Games, we had that little face-off with them in the ring, and it was off mic, but you could see Roman say to him, he's my wise man. Mm-hmm. And Punk told him, we'll see. Right? So now here we are. And in fact, he'll be Punk's wise man in the match instead of with Roman. And it creates tension now, between the two of them. It puts Paul Heyman right in the middle of everything here. I made the comment last night. Paul Heyman, it's like he's the Miss Elizabeth of this match, which is a horrifying image, I know. But it reminds me of WrestleMania 5, where whose corner is Miss Elizabeth going to be in? Is she going to be with the Macho Man? Is she going to be with Hogan? And the story was, the title was on the line, but like the story really was her in many ways. The story here is Heyman, right? There's no title. It's all about Paul Heyman. What's he going to do? What happens during the match if Roman looks over at Heyman and wants him to help him out, right? What's he going to do? Same thing with Punk. Punk wants to use a chair on Roman Reigns. He motions over to Heyman, give me the chair. Is he going to give him the chair? We don't know. So that aspect of the story now, it all comes down to where does his allegiance lie? And that's why I think Seth Rollins in the end is probably the beneficiary of all of this and is probably going to win the fucking match, because I kind of feel like those two cancel each other out. They're going to overextend themselves trying to pull Heyman in opposite directions. And when all's said and done, he's not going to really help either one of them. And I think Rollins kind of swoops in and he may well pick up the win. And you mentioned last night on Raw, this is how they set it up. He stomps CM Punk, and Paul Heyman is on his hands and knees checking on Punk. Rollins comes in for the stomp, but he stomps short. See what I did there? He stomps short right before Heyman. He could have done it, but he doesn't. And he tells him, now you owe me a favor. And I'm like, well, it's not really how this works, but okay. So now he's owed a favor. What's the favor going to be? I think the favor, like quote unquote, the favor, it could just be as simple as, you know what? We get to a certain point in this match at WrestleMania, Heyman, he can't take it anymore. This guy wants his help. This guy wants his help. Him just walking away could benefit Seth Rollins. and Rollins could sneak in there and pick up the win, that could be the so-called favor.
Well, he did kind of allude to that last night. He said, we need to remove you from the situation. That's exactly what it's going to be.
Right. So that, but I'm putting favor in quote mark.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really a favor. I'm not saying he's going to intentionally help Seth Rollins win or leave with him. I just think that his actions in the end will benefit Seth.
Yes.
That's how I see this playing out.
Is that enough for you to end night one, though?
It depends. It depends how it plays out. It depends. I think there's a way to do it where it could, if it's done really well, then I think it could be enough. Because I don't see the big shocking twist where he leaves with Rollins, like he becomes Rollins' wise.
No, I hate that idea.
I don't like that idea, and it's not needed. So, but if I'm saying if they were to do that, that would be like a big shocking twist they could end the night on. I don't see that happening. Is it enough to just have Rollins swoop in and steal the win? Without anything tangible on the line, it would be a little underwhelming. That's why I kept saying, man, make this a number one contenders. Just throw it out there. It doesn't even have to be focused on, but at least there'll be something actually at stake, in that match. And so far, they haven't done that. They have one more week. It depends how it's done. It could be done in a way that I think works, but it depends on the execution.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it regardless. I think this has been set up nicely. I think Punk's story has been really solid. I think Rollins last night showed how villainous he could be and that a heel turn is very much welcome for him. He did really make a great case for himself, claiming all these different scenarios that Punk is not really, your friend. He used you for a favor. I was the one who was asked first before Punk to join Roman and the Bloodline at War Games. You seem to forget that. Sammy asked me twice. I said no. Why would we want to help Roman after we took the belt off of him and helped Cody win the championship at WrestleMania? He mentioned all these things, and he really made a great case. And like we're talking about now, the favor is probably going to sit with Paul Heyman after everything that Rollins told him on his mind. And come WrestleMania, he's going to be like, I can't help Roman. I can't help Punk. Seth is right. I'm going to remove myself from the situation. As long as he's visibly there in Punk's corner, I think him removing himself and giving Rollins the opportunity to win is exactly what's going to happen. And Rollins will win, in my opinion. I think he's going to pin Punk. I think after Punk pinned him on January 6th, Rollins won the steel cage match by Roman pulling him out of the cage. I think Rollins is going to get the pin over Punk. They're not going to pin Roman at WrestleMania, and I do think that's the way it's going to end up.
Now, last night, I want to ask you this question because they said coming out of one of the commercial breaks that Roman Reigns is going to get his 11th WrestleMania main event this year.
I saw that today, yeah.
So are they counting WrestleMania 31 twice? Are they counting the Brock match and then the triple threat cash-in as two separate matches?
I don't know. Does that include night one and night two last year?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yeah, because
then it has to be.
Yeah, it has to be, right? Because it should be 10. And I'm like, wait a minute, where did they get 11 from? And like, I'm going over the list and I'm like, 31, 32, 33, 34, then 37, 38, 39, and then 40 twice. And I'm like, this would be 10. I'm like, where did they get 11 from? And I'm like, the only thing I could think of is they're counting WrestleMania 31 as two separate main events.
Well, that's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
Does that constitute as a second match? No, right?
I guess it would because they rang the bell. They said now this is now a triple threat match, and they rang the bell.
Come on, man! Nobody's beating 10. Why up it to 11? I don't.
Because you got to pad the record, brother. That's what you got to do. It's all about padding the record.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, that was.
Maybe it was a botch. I don't know because I saw that and I said, wait a minute, unless I miscounted. And I went back and counted again. The only way you get to 11 is if you consider that two separate matches.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's exactly what they did. I didn't even think about that. But, I mean, that's typical WWE. They pad everything else. Why not that? Yeah, that was SmackDown. And looking at Monday Night Raw, I think we just want to touch on the Jey Uso Gunther thing. And then we'll go over the WrestleMania card after both of these last two shows, Raw and SmackDown.
Shout out to the 3,500 hanging with us.
3,500, man. We got 1,200 likes. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. The 1,500 is the new goal right now. Super chats are open. and they will remain open. And if you guys are just finding the stream tonight for the first time, thank you. Follow us on social. Follow us on YouTube. Everything for both of us is linked down below in the description. And if you guys are with us every Tuesday, thank you. Appreciate you. Monday Night Raw, Jason. Let's specifically keep it to Jey Uso and Gunther. We'll go over some of the other key moments as I run down the WrestleMania 41 card as we see it now. But the Jey Uso Gunther situation, coming out of that great beatdown from Gunther where he was dressed in Jimmy's blood, fantastic thing that really changed the course of this World Championship match at WrestleMania. Coming into this week, we both said that two things need to happen: a serious Jey Uso and no yeeting from Jey. The crowd yeeted, which was, I wish that they would understand there's a place and a time to do that, but they're going to have their fun. But no yeeting from Jey, which he did. He refrained and there was no yeeting. He wore all black. He was very serious. He told the story of him needing to talk to his mother about what happened to his brother, and that he admitted to his mom that he's afraid of Gunther, and now he's not afraid of Gunther anymore. And Gunther didn't say a word. He just stood there smiling and smirking, and he went through different facial expressions.
Dude, like, am I the only one? Like, I'm watching him standing there. He took his suit jacket off and he rolled up his sleeves. He's got the tie on. And I'm just like, he looks like JBL.
Like, yeah, now that you mentioned it a little bit, yeah.
He looked a little like JBL there. He's got that big smile on his face.
He didn't say a single word last night, and Jey cut a very impassioned promo. The only thing that I had a problem with is that Jey speaks in a way where it's like very stop and start. He speaks a couple words and starts. He lets the fans kind of dictate where he's going. He plays off the fans. I wish his cadence was a little bit better. His delivery was a little bit better, but outside that, that's a minor criticism. I thought what he did last night was cut a very good promo. It's exactly what was needed in the follow-up. The other thing I didn't like is the fact that, and I've seen some people complaining about this, after Gunther did that to Jimmy last week, he should be seeking blood, and he wants to get into a fight with Gunther and get his revenge. Obviously, that's coming, and he alluded to that because he said, I'm praying to God for me and the man I'm going to be at WrestleMania, basically telling Gunther that he's got a receipt coming to him at WrestleMania. So he's refraining now from beating Gunther now, and he's going to save it for WrestleMania. So I really didn't find myself too bothered by that, but I can understand people's criticism. I enjoyed this segment, and I love the intensity for Jey, and I love the fact that Jey, the IWC Jason, says, Jey can't cut a promo. He very much could. He's just playing more so into his babyface character and the whole yeet thing. He can't cut a promo. Jimmy cuts a promo. Them as the Usos cut very good promos with the Uso Penitentiary. I thought what he did and his delivery last night was exactly what it needed to be, and I was very happy with the end result.
Yeah, Bearded Beast in the chat, he may have been making a joke, but I actually think there's something to it. He says Jey does it to catch his breath. I notice when he's out there, like he gets very, overwhelmed or excited, whatever the word is for it. And I think there may be something to that. Like it could be a case where he just has to kind of pace himself in that way. What that does, though, is it gives the audience a chance to do the yeet thing where they think, he's pausing because they want us to yeet. There were multiple times, twice that I noticed in this segment where Jey put his hand up, like he motioned for the crowd to like, don't yeet. Like I'm about to get serious here. And they just kept doing it. And it was very irritating. But this is what happens when you condition the audience to think that every time you come out there to cut a promo, this is what you're supposed to do. Yeah. I mean, that part of it sucked, but I thought as far as what he gave us here in this segment, it was exactly what it needed to be. Didn't bother me as much as I thought maybe it would that he didn't go right after, Gunther after what he did last week. I made that comment about Cody when he came out for the first time about why isn't he going after John Cena, after what John Cena did to him, or at least try to put some security between them to like keep them separated. In this case, I think it was more important to get the promo and not a pull-apart brawl that we get every fucking week on TV. This is the version of Jey Uso that we needed to get. Him bringing his family up about, I've never lied to my mom before, and I'm not going to start now. She's asking me, about, Jimmy and Joshua. Why didn't you stop him? Why didn't, really bringing it down to like a very personal level here. And then he got serious, and he basically told him, I'm going to mess you up. WrestleMania, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for myself. And he put him on notice. And by the end of the segment, Gunther wasn't laughing anymore. And then Michael Cole on commentary made the comment that, he's this is a different Jey Uso now, and he's no longer afraid of this man. So I liked it. I think what they've done the last 2 weeks has really been a course correction, getting this thing to a place where now it feels more like a championship match in a way where 2 weeks ago, honestly, it didn't. It just felt like a mid-card match on night one of WrestleMania. Now it feels more like a championship match. I still feel the same way. Jey can't possibly go in there and lose after everything that's happened up to this point. But I thought they did a really good job with it. The Jimmy thing last week, that was the turning point. Like, that was so needed in this feud. And I wasn't even expecting it to be as violent as it was, but that just made it so much better. But yeah, it's unfortunate the crowd wasn't really cooperating with the promo.
Yeah, I think they're going to deliver. I think Jey knows he has to. I think Triple H and Bruce and Michael Hayes and everybody else involved knows that this match needs to deliver. I think Jey's going to go out there and really shut a lot of people up. I think they're going to give them free reign to do a lot that normally you wouldn't see. And Gunther, we said this weekly, he doesn't have bad matches, so I don't know why anybody would doubt what he brings to the table. I'm actually
Jey has a lot to prove here because remember the match he had last year. And he's well aware of how disappointing that match was. Yeah. And he's talked about how he knows that. And so it's on him now to go out there and really have the match of his life. Because what is the best singles match Jey Uso has ever had? I mean, it might have been one of the matches he had with Gunther, honestly. I mean, they've had some pretty good matches.
Or Braun Breaker, one or the other.
Yeah, one or the other. But I mean, in like the pay-per-view matches where he's been in the main event, like against Roman.
Yeah. No, those are awful.
Yeah, that was fucking terrible. So this is a real make or break moment for him, I feel like, when it comes to him as a single star, in ring. I think he knows that. So if he goes to WrestleMania and shits the bed, I think that says a lot about what his ceiling is as far as an in-ring performer. But if he turns it on and he goes out there and with a guy who, like you said, it's impossible for him to have bad matches. If he goes out there and has the best match of his life, first of all, that's probably why, number one. But number two, then he'll, I think, shut a lot of people up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think we got one more Raw left. I don't know what the whole game plan is here for the last show. I mean, it's too late to do a contract signing. What do we do from this point on? Do we just get video packages from here on out and then get to Vegas?
Yeah, or you can have Gunther have a rebuttal, if you want to. I don't want your standard pull apart brawl. I mean, you could do it, I guess, but like, it's just, I'm so tired of it at this point. Between the two companies, I feel like we get at least one every week.
Yeah.
And like you said, they could do a contract signing. It's kind of pointless at this point. The match is already made. Once he selected him as his challenger, do we really need a contract signing? They're not going to do a weigh-in. So, I mean, what else is really left for you to do other than just maybe have them cut individual promos?
Yeah. Do we see Jimmy at WrestleMania? I want to say yes as an aide, maybe.
I think we will, just because if he wins the title, I think they would want Jimmy there to be part of the celebration.
Yeah.
And that visual of them hugging in the ring.
So the rest of Monday Night Raw, we'll just go over briefly as I have the whole WrestleMania card, because Raw did really shape the rest of the WrestleMania weekend here for 41. We'll start with this. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. That is now official. It's amazing. I said this on my end, Jason, on my Raw post show last night, that we went from thinking it was going to be the New Day and Grande Americano versus Phoenix, Penta, and Rey Mysterio in a six-man tag. They now have deviated to New Day maybe not being in anything. It looks like they may be involved with the War Raiders. I don't know why anybody would find interest in that. And now we're in a Mysterio El Grande Americano one-on-one match. How do you feel about the different shapes that this entire situation has landed us in?
Well, based on what they did last night, which was just a terrible match with New Day and the War Raiders, it was just to set up whatever the rematch is going to be. It felt like maybe they're going to go Viking rules. I guess the only question is, do they do it at WrestleMania? Do we get a tag team title match at all at WrestleMania?
I don't think so. I think they do it on the SmackDown before.
You think so? Yeah, because on the SmackDown end, when I talked about the Motor City Machine Guns on Friday winning their match against DIY, I said, oh, this is nice. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, they'll get their first WrestleMania match. But they never actually said the match would be against the Street Profits at WrestleMania. So it's possible we may not have any tag team titles on the actual PLE, even though it's 2 nights. The Chad Gable thing, I'm just happy he's actually getting his very first singles match at WrestleMania, and yet he won't get credit for it because he's not wrestling as Chad Gable. He's wrestling as Grande Americano with a mask on.
Well, I mean, I said this on my Raw post. I feel like a mask versus mask match is going to be added to this. You feel that? Okay.
Oh, no, not to this. No, this is the first. So I actually think he stands a pretty good chance of winning here. By the way, he won his match last night, and so now Chad Gable found a way to win, not to be Chad Gable.
Yes, he did.
He finally found a way to win matches on these shows. Just don't be Chad Gable. Be somebody else. So I think he wins at WrestleMania, and I don't think you need to do mask. Why are you going to do mask versus mask at WrestleMania? The guy just debuted.
That's true.
Grande Americano.
Yeah.
He just debuted. So why not let them wrestle? They'll have a great match. Grande Americano wins, and then run it back at Backlash and do mask against mask.
I like it. I'm looking forward to it. I think that's great, and a lot of people think it's silly, but listen, Gable, everything he does is fucking fantastic, and he's on the WrestleMania card, and he's going to be wrestling under a mask, but you know it's going to be a banger, so I am okay with that.
Yeah, I have no issue with it.
Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre is official. Pirate Drew McIntyre looks like the fucking governor from Walking Dead. I actually think Drew McIntyre looks super cool with the fucking eye patch, and I like it.
I said Snake Plissken from Escape from New York.
Yeah, it's basically Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid, the video game. Yes, I like it. I think that is going to be a sleeper match. I don't want to take anything away from Priest and McIntyre. I thought the vignettes that they cut on Friday were very, very good. So that is now official. Jade Cargill versus Naomi was made official on Friday after Naomi was attacked by Jade after and before her match with B-Fab. So that is official. Jade's first WrestleMania match, and Naomi gets her first in a long time. Is this her first singles match at WrestleMania too?
Naomi, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes, I believe it is. It's not Jade's first WrestleMania match. It's her first singles match at WrestleMania because they had that 6-woman tag last year.
Ah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So, but for Naomi, I believe it is. She's had a bunch of multi-woman matches. She had the tag team title match with her and Sasha defending the titles. I think they were defending the titles. There's been battle royals. I'm pretty sure it's her first singles match, though, at WrestleMania. It's
pretty important. Good for her. Happy for that. In regards to Naomi, Jade, a lot of people say that she's not ready, and people are just very iffy on her single stuff. But I honestly think Naomi has shown us the body work that she has in the last 6 months, and I do think that Naomi's going to lead Jade Cargill to a decent match. So we will see what happens there. AJ versus Logan Paul is official. That could be a banger match just based on the two styles. And Logan Paul, again, he has been excellent in whatever he's done. And AJ, he's a big match performer. Might not be enough story there for people to get people to care, Jason, but I do think that the match itself is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, everything they've done up to this point to get to this match is, just kind of
blah,
basic bitch stuff.
Yeah,
honestly, it's it's not very good at all. But I have faith the match itself will be very good.
The Women's Tag Team Championship match, while not official, they will have a gauntlet match on Friday SmackDown, and the winners of that gauntlet match will wrestle Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. I think everybody's kind of looking at Lyra and Bayley to win that gauntlet match, so that is the prediction there. Lyra and Bayley had a very good IC title match on Raw last night, and we could be looking at maybe some glimpses of a Bayley return to form as a heel. I don't know. Did you get that feeling last night?
Oh, okay. So apparently, and I was at that WrestleMania. Apparently, in the chat, they're saying Naomi against Alexa, WrestleMania 33 in Orlando.
Well, listen, you guys got the Google machine working. I don't know why.
I was there, and I have no memory of this.
How long was that show? 12 hours?
That show was 7 hours long.
It's easily forgotten then. Goodbye.
I sat there in the Florida sun from like 5 o'clock. I looked like a fucking raisin by the time this show was over. So my brain may have been fried by the time that match took place. All I know is that The Undertaker, after that terrible match with Roman Reigns, remember when he took the hat off and he took the jacket off, right? It was 12:15 in the morning.
Oh, God.
And he's disrobing and taking his clothes off. And I'm like, I think we're done here.
Yeah.
I'm done.
How many people in the chat actually went back and watched that match after that aired, the Alexa and Naomi match? I'm going to say 0. Give me a break.
I know Alexa. She's got her fans.
She does.
Her stands.
Trust me, I know. That's the Bayley heel turn. You think that's coming?
It feels that way.
She eyed that IC title pretty hard last night.
Well, I mean, initially she kind of walked away from Lyra, right? But then she came back and hugged her.
Yep.
So, yeah. And you know what? She probably could use it.
I think so.
I think she could use the shakeup.
LA Knight, he's defending the United States Championship against Jacob Fatu. Good to see Jacob Fatu get a championship match. He defeated Braun Strowman in a last man standing match on Friday, which was pretty fun. So we're going with that, which is the right move to make. And I do think that Fatu and Solo continue their feud going into Backlash, but there won't be any United States Championship on the line. Braun Breaker will defend the IC title. This is also coming off of Raw last night. This was made official. He will defend against Penta, Dominic, and Finn Balor in a fatal 4-way. EO will defend in a triple threat match against Bianca and Rhea. That was made official on Monday Night Raw. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte. We talked about that. That's taking place. Gunther versus Jey Uso. Roman Reigns, Punk, and Rollins. Triple threat match. That's main event night 1. And then Cody Rhodes and John Cena, Jason. We did not get a Rhodes appearance last night. And I think it's pretty concrete that we're not going to get John Cena until WrestleMania. They did a music video of sorts last night on Raw. Is that disappointing to you that we're not going to get... I think Cody's on the show next week, but I mean, what else needs to be said? I mean, if there's no Cena, I don't really give a shit. Are you disappointed that there's no John Cena?
I am. I'm kind of holding out very little hope, but a little bit of hope that maybe he'll be there as a surprise and he'll jump Cody and they'll be, trying to get revenge for what Cody did to him, laying him out with the Crossroads. But yeah, it's disappointing because as great as that last segment was between them, we should have gotten so much more.
Yeah.
And because you don't know how long this is going to last, the whole heel turn, he may not win the championship at WrestleMania. And I just think as great as that was, it was such a huge missed opportunity not to do more with this. And his schedule just may have been such that their hands were tied, but coming out of one of the biggest angles they've ever done and one of the greatest heel turns in the history of the business, that 2-week period there where we got nothing was really disappointing. And then we got those 2 weeks of promos from Cena where he was just healing on the fans and said nothing to Cody, and that was disappointing, the fact that we didn't get that. And then they hit us with that one segment, and that may be it. That may be all we get. Definitely a letdown compared to what I was hoping we would get between them.
So that is your WrestleMania card. I don't know if any more is going to be added to the card. I think we're pretty set there.
Well, they'll have the Andre Battle Royal probably on SmackDown next week.
Or Randy Orton, Nick Aldis as well. That'll probably be added. But we got the tag team titles probably taking place on Friday and Monday Night Raw with the Viking Raiders and the New Day, and then the Battle Royal. So WWE's got everything pretty much laid out. And does it feel like a WrestleMania card to you? Is it substantial enough for you? Kind of looks disappointing on paper, I think.
Yeah, it's a little underwhelming compared to what we've had before in years past.
But I think they got at least a trick up their sleeve. I do think Dwayne's going to show up. I think we'll see The Rock. Regardless,
at Mania.
Mania.
I don't see why he wouldn't be. I mean, look, we know that a certain rattlesnake is going to be in the house. If nothing else, they always trot out the Hall of Famers, so he'll be there. And knowing that he's there this time, like I just remember my disappointment last year, but he wasn't there. He'll be there this time. So if they don't do something with him, now I'm going to be really upset.
Yeah. Guys, thank you very much for a great stream. We had upwards towards 3,500 plus in here on a Tuesday night. We appreciate you very much. We have 1,300 likes, and I'd love to see that up to 1,500. That is the new goal. So if you guys are in the chat and have not hit the thumbs up, I would really appreciate that. Super chats will remain open. Thank you guys for the super chat love. And make sure you go check out this guy over here on social media and on YouTube. Everything you need is linked down below in the description. And we will get into your super chats right now. We'll start with Michael Krause, $2 super chat. Congrats on episode 90 TNT. JD, Jason, let's go. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Night Jane with a new membership. No message. Thank you, Night Jane. Boss Mo Jackson with a 199. Your favorite Vince McMahon moment? JD and Solo.
Him leaving.
Him leaving. Him leaving and him leaving. Yeah. That's my top three.
I'll throw in I'll throw in the first stunner he took when he flopped like a fish on the mat. That would be another one.
Yeah,
and him getting punched out by Bret Hart in the locker room.
There you go. There you go. Good old Bret. We'll see him at the Hall of Fame too.
That's right.
Sidro with a $5 super chat for Solo. What's the similarity between a woman and KFC? By the time you finish with the breast and the thighs, all you have left is a greasy box to put your bone in.
Well, we got a classy bunch here on the channel tonight.
He said that on my stream last night, and I told him Solo would love that joke. So do that on
did
Tuesday.
You? Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Thank you, Sidro. Thank you.
I'm more of a Popeyes guy myself. So
neither for me. I did like the KFC mashed potato balls though. Those were good.
I didn't try those.
Sidro also with a 10. What do you call an anorexic with a yeast infection? A quarter pounder with cheese. Not really the vision I want on a Tuesday night, but he also says, what's the difference between a pregnant chick and a light bulb? You can unscrew the light bulb. Oh, not your best, bro. Those two were not your best. I like the KFC one better.
I'm still thinking about the Popeyes I mentioned.
Devil Jinx with the new membership. Thank you, Devil Jinx. No message. Easy with 26 months. TK is actively killing the AW product with this shit storyline problem. Does he hear the complaining? He won't take the title off Mox, though. Yeah, he hears the complaining. He just don't give a shit.
He reads everything, dude. He's online.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's online like every hour of the day. He's from our generation. He's from the social media generation.
Yeah.
So believe me, he sees everything. Whether or not he takes it to heart, I'll let you be the judge.
He heard everything, and he heard my rant, and I'm sure he heard Jason's rant too. So he's heard it. He knows. Stephen Brewer with a new membership, and Mike L with a new membership. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you both. Tay the 499. What's up, boys? I just want to pay my respect to Kevin Castle. I know how much he's meant to y'all. He will always be with you and the OTS family. Yes, he will, Tay. Thank you very much, brother. Buff Llama, my guy Buff Llama. What's up, brother? 499. Rest in peace, Kevin Castle. Sorry for your loss, my friend. Love you, brother. Love you too, man. Hope you are well. I hope once again we can share many banana bread beers, bro. Seriously. Jay Everington with a 5. AEW releases that'll be additions by subtraction. Jericho, Moxley, the Bucks, Yuta, Cope, Okada, Jack Perry, Shibata, and most of the luchadors. No, they're not going to release.
Not the Beast Mortos.
They're not gonna release Okada, bro. Come on. Or Moxley, or Jericho, or the Bucks. Jericho may land himself in Guantanamo Bay, being that he said he would absolutely welcome a WWE return. But
he did say that.
So he may be knocking on Guantanamo Bay's door there. Michelle Moran with a 2. Mox Ospreay at All In. What if TK has Mox retain? Jason mentioned that.
I'm telling you, there are people who think that he may hold it until Wrestle Dream, which I don't even want to think about that.
For Darby to win it or Bryant to win it in a return?
For Darby to win it.
I can't even fathom. I may have to cover Impact. Honestly, if that's the plan. Jay Everington with a new membership. Thank you, brother. Devil Jinx comes in with a 5 and a message. I know I preach to the choir, but I am more tired of the tribalism between some fans. Hoping a company fails shows a lack of love for the industry. Nobody wants AEW to fail. If Jason criticizes the product, that doesn't mean that he wants AEW to fail. If I criticize the product, that doesn't mean I want the product to fail. We just want better television. The product sucks right now. Are we not allowed to say that? I can't imagine how much hate that, I know I see it every fucking time I say something. How much hate did you get with your clip that was floating around on social media? You get some geeks in the comment sections?
Oh, of course. Of course.
It's terrible.
I'm a hater.
Yeah, they can't handle any criticism. That's the problem. Yep. The Juliet with a 5. Rest in peace, Kevin Castle. Like a lot of people, I found a lot of you guys, him, Don Tony included, through TV tracks. Stunned one of the OGs are gone.
Those were the days. I mean, you had Don Tony and Kevin Castle clips from my show, some soup stuff, a little bit of good mic work. A lot of people discovered our shows through the TV Tracks channel many years ago. Because Tracks, and I hope he's doing well. He kind of disappeared off the face of the earth, but he was a fan of all of our stuff, and reached out and said, hey, I've got this subscriber base here, and I love your work, and I would love to share some clips if that's okay with you. And that's kind of how that happened. And I still hear from people today who will send me emails and say, I found you in 2013 on Tracks, you and Kev Castle and DT. And so a lot of the people that listen to both of us, it really comes from those days. So it's been very cool to hear from some of those people over the last 24 hours.
I'm surprised there hasn't been something similar to a TV Tracks that's come around and kind of grouped everybody together and kind of brought some new eyes to some new podcasts or something like that,
Yeah, I mean, there may be, but they just may not have the following. At that point, he probably had, I think I have more than he has now. I'm up to 85 going on 86. He probably had a good 75,000 subscribers. And at that time, we didn't have that kind of following on YouTube. So it was very helpful in that regard. And now I feel like a lot of these shows, we all kind of do our own thing and we have our own respective platforms. But for new up and coming shows, there really is nothing like that.
Juliet, thank you very much for the 5. Jay Shudo, 44 of the 5. You guys always keep it real. Keep up the great work. AW needs to improve on their camera work as well. Sometimes it's a little shoddy, but I think Mike Manzarek has done a good job over there for making the show feel different than its beginning stages, for sure. Jacob Smiling with 32 months. What's up, JD and Solo? Glad to be a member for 32 months. You guys are the GOATs. I love AEW to death, but I don't know how long I can keep on with their booking. I heard from a lot of people this week that they have stopped watching the product and will after the ending of that show. So it's going to be interesting to see what the reaction is on Wednesday. Terry's Odyssey with a 5. No message. Thank you, Terry's. Appreciate you being here, man. Vulcan 280 with a 10. Mox was right. He said he would destroy AEW, and he certainly has. Bringing back the Young Bucks just puts the nail in the coffin. Thanks for speaking the truth, JD and Solo. Always, man. Thank you.
Oh, wait until Jack Perry shows up on TV.
Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be a barn burner on Wednesday. Jamel Turney with a 499. Crazy how, to some people, when Paul puts on 5 or 6 matches, you have people losing their minds. Listen, man, they think 13 matches equals a $50 price tag. I would rather feel good after 13 or $50. I didn't feel like I spent my money well on Sunday. I didn't. I was actually disappointed I spent the money to buy it on pay-per-view. I don't understand it. 6, 7 matches should be... 6 may be too little for AEW. 7 matches should be the max for the pay-per-views.
Especially, where do you watch it?
Verizon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now they have Triller, they have YouTube.
Yeah, I do traditional cable. Jamel, thank you, brother. David Thiering with 11 months. Thank you, brother. AEW Dynasty was so bad and had Solo so flustered that during his review, he read a super chat from the YouTube name Reborn Bladder as Reborn Blader as Reborn Bladder.
You did the same thing. You did the same thing. Okay, so his username was Reborn Blader. And I just casually said, okay, Reborn Bladder. And then I had to stop myself. I said, wait a minute. I said, did I just say that or am I hallucinating because it's 2:45 in the morning and I just really have to go to the bathroom? So I said, I just called him Reborn Bladder. I just thought it was a cool name at that point.
Yeah, Reborn Blader. Yeah, there you go. Listen, that shit happens.
Of all the things, though, to be reborn
as a bladder?
As a bladder. Would you want to be reborn as a bladder?
No.
I don't think so either. No.
Sidra with a 10. What's worse than a worm in your apple? A vein in your hot dog. You're going to turn me off to fucking eating hot dogs, bro. We're coming up on the warmer weather, man. Please. And a gynecologist comes home. Wife says, tired after a hard day's work. Gyno says, I'm bushed.
Boo.
Yeah, boo. Come on, Sidra.
Come on, Sidra. This is family-friendly programming here.
Yeah, you got that Attitude Era-like vibe tonight, man. The Boss Mo Jackson with the $4.99. What did Hulk Hogan ask in arts and crafts class? What you gonna glue, brother? Oh, my God. Sidro is better at this than me, he says. Well, I don't know, man. I think you got the leading one tonight. You got Sidro beat tonight. Tony Brown with the $4.99. JD, I would love to be a bar of soap in the NXT women's shower. Oh, my goodness. Tony Brown.
Tony, you gotta get some fresh air, my friend.
Take it easy, brother. I think they announced the Fatal 4-Way at Stand and Deliver. Stephanie Vaquer, Jordan Grace, Julia, and Jada Parker for the NXT women's title.
Multi-mania continues.
I don't understand it. What's wrong with Vaquer and Jordan Grace?
So we have a 4-way for the NXT Women's Championship, and we have is it a 5 or 6-way ladder match for the North American title?
I would assume it's 6, right? 6?
Point is, both of them are going to be multi-woman matches?
I don't know. What the fuck is going on down there, man?
I don't know.
That is ridiculous. Boss Mo Jackson with $1.99. Cage match or Hell in a Cell? I don't give a shit as long as there's a reason for either one of them happening.
See, if it was the blue bar, I'd say blue bar cage. But if it's just the mesh, I'll go Hell in a Cell.
When's the next time we see Hell in a Cell? I don't know, as long as it matters. Punk and McIntyre really brought it back to its former glory. Johnny's Wrestling Room with a 5. If they have the Young Bucks be even remotely competitive with the Hurt Syndicate, I'm fucking done. Yeah, that kind of is ludicrous, especially with the way the Hurt Syndicate has been presented. It's coming, though. It's coming. Boss Mo Jackson with the $1.99. Trish Stratus or Mandy Rose? Sable or Maurice? I'm going Trish, and I'm going Maurice. Easy.
It was, what was it? Sable and Maurice?
Sable and Maurice, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maurice.
Yeah, by far.
And Trish.
Yeah. Boss Mo Jackson with the $1.99. This is a tough one. NXT Black and Gold or Lucha Underground? I'm going Black and Gold.
It's the good son scenario.
I know.
Save one, let one go. I will go. Man, that's tough. I'll go Black and Gold, but it's close.
Jeffrey K with the $4.99. What are the odds we see all 3 Shield members make one more crowd entrance? Not today, not tomorrow, not the next day, but someday. No. I don't want to see Jon. I don't want to see Jon Moxley anywhere near WWE after this run.
Yeah, no, I just can't envision any scenario where it happens.
No.
Roman is so much bigger than that now.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Devil Jinx with a 2. Rename it to AEW Travesty. The ending was, for sure. Michelle Moran with a 2. Who goes heel first and why? Seth Punk or Roman? Seth.
Seth's already halfway there.
Yeah, good. Jay Patterson with a 5. What if Heyman doesn't come out with anyone and comes out after everyone is in the ring, not knowing who he's going to side with or turn on? So it would be like almost, it makes me think back to the 93 Rumble with Michaels and Jannetty, and Sherry came out mid-match, right?
Yes.
Paul Heyman's playing Sensational Sherry.
I told you Paul Heyman's playing Miss Elizabeth. Now you have him playing Sensational Sherry.
Oh, man. Hey, listen, man, it's intriguing in its own way. It might be comical and, love triangle-esque, but, it's intriguing. The cake with a 2. The people got, I don't know why this is trending. The people got rape Tony Khan trending. Why? What type of fucking sick people are out there, man? Why was that trending?
Well, I mean, this is social media.
Stupid. Thank you, Cake. Dr. Scorpio 19 with a 10 coming to us from Canada. This Thursday will be 1 year since AEW airs the All-In footage to only prove Punk's comments right, and I haven't looked back since the following months. Thanks for watching AEW, so I don't have to.
That was also the last time that Dynamite did 800,000 viewers, I believe.
Yep.
They have not touched it since.
Not even close. Devil Drink with a 2. Charlie packing more plastic than a Happy Meal toy. Charlie who? Who are we talking about? Charlie Caruso? Who are we talking about? Charlie who? Who's
Charlie?
Charlie?
Talking about Charlotte?
He said Charlie. Is that what they call Charlotte? Charlie?
I don't know who else it would be in reference to. We haven't talked about anybody named Charlie. So.
I don't know. I guess so. Listen, man, to each his own. You know. Thank you, Devil Jinx. Cody Snyder with a 5. If you're having a great wrestling match and no one gives a damn, then what's the point? Says Drew McIntyre. He's not wrong.
Yeah, you know he's gonna get heat for those comments, but it's true. He's not wrong.
I'm sure Tony Khan's already pinpointing who he wants to have a rah-rah speech come from on Wednesday. Dr. Scorpio with a 10. If Flair beats Tiffany at Mania after this awful feud and segment, I feel it's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. I think Tiffany should win this match and move on from this Flair feud ASAP. That's the majority of what people think, Dr. Scorpio, but you have to look at it from what Jason said earlier. There is Backlash, and there is the rumor of Evolution 2 happening in July, so you're going to see a lot of these matches continue past WrestleMania, unfortunately. Nick Loretta with a 5. Is it fair to say that Moxley's reign is reaching Jinder Mahal levels in terms of being insufferable to watch?
I feel like we're almost past that. I mean, Jinder had what, 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So where are we now? He
lost it in November to Brock.
Right. But I'm talking about Moxley. Moxley won it in October, right? November, December, January, February, March. We're at 6 months.
So this will surpass worse, yes.
Jinder Mahal, yes.
Yeah. And Jinder was fucking... He's legitimately... Some people love it. I don't know why. One of the top 3 worst WWE champions ever. It was awful. What an awful SmackDown time that was, 2017. My God. Aaron Bowman with a 5. Kevin was the man. He always interacted on X and was my N-word with an A. He says, if you know, you know. You can tell how much he was loved. And he leaves a heart emoji. Yes, Aaron, thank you, brother. Yes, Kevin always interacted in a very respectful manner to everybody. And he was a huge Karrion Kross fan. He always used to be glowing about this is Kross's year. The last conversation I had with him was about Kross, and he thinks that 2025 is going to be his year. Hopefully it is. I genuinely hope so. Gold Standard with a 20. Hey, guys, most of the chat will probably have to Google the name Dale Murphy, but I watched him play back in the Fulton County Stadium days, and I wonder how your opinion about how good he would be in the modern MLB. Yeah, Dale Murphy was before my time, but I know Dale Murphy. You know, I wasn't around to watch him actually play ball, but, you know.
Who did he play for?
Wasn't he a Brave?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with him, so that's why I asked the question.
Yeah. Fulton County Stadium was the Atlanta's old stadium, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Gold Standard. We are, I am familiar because he's a Brave, but I never got to really actually watch him play. That was before my time. Also with a 20, says Gold Standard. I have said this a million times. I don't know if I said this on this show, but Kenny Omega, great in the ring. He's a great worker, but his promo skill, not good. If he went to WWE now, would he start in NXT or work on his promos? No, he'd go to the main roster, Gold Standard. Come on, man.
Kenny Omega is not starting in NXT. Come on now. I'm sure Shawn Michaels would love that, but no, he's not starting in NXT.
No, it's exactly what we need. Kenny Omega versus fucking Dark State. Fuck out of here. Alex with a 5. Brother JD and Solo, can you imagine AEW transitioning one of their big 4 pay-per-views into a 2-night event? Plus 5+ hours per night. Can't imagine your reaction. You listen, AEW is absolutely at one time or another going to do a 2-night show. I guarantee it.
Well, we already have a 4-hour block. Did you hear about this? On April, God, what's the date? Is it April 26th? It might be.
It's the week. It's the week before WrestleMania weekend. They're doing a Wednesday and Thursday live Dynamite and Collision.
Before WrestleMania.
It's the week of WrestleMania, yeah. Because they're not airing Collision on that Saturday, night 1.
Okay. I don't know if I didn't know if that was the date, but they're doing a 4-hour block. And it's on a Wednesday.
In the same night.
It's on a Wednesday, yes.
Holy shit, that cannot be real.
I'll look it up right now. I just read about this earlier today. I was floored.
I hope it's a Wednesday and a Thursday, man. I read it as a Wednesday and Thursday.
No, let's see here. Hold on.
This cannot be, man.
Hold on. April 6, 2025. So this was a few days ago. AEW has now announced the return of Fyter Fest on June 4th in Denver. Interestingly, the special will now take place across Dynamite and Collision tapings, which are being held back-to-back, creating a 4-hour block of all Elite action. So that makes it sound like it's airing all in one night, but this is a little unclear in the language. Let me see if I could find another story here. Okay, here. This is from The Observer 3 days ago. Company officially confirmed that a live 4-hour block featuring both Dynamite and Collision will be taking place on June 4th.
God, fucking kill me now. Kill me now.
I mean, that's like a threat. I take that as a threat.
I'm telling you right now. I'm covering Dynamite only.
That's it.
That's it. Goodbye. I'm not even
but
watching
they may have a storyline that starts out at the beginning of Dynamite and carries over. You'll have to watch all the way up until the end of Collision.
Oh God!
If they were smart, that's what they would do.
Yeah. Don't give them any don't give them any ideas. Alex, thank you, bro. Thank you for the bad news. Appreciate it. Hugh G. Rection with a 5. With Linda McMahon as Secretary of Education, is the only person qualified to do their job. WWE Hall of Famer Donald Trump has ever hired as Stormy Daniels. Has the only one been qualified been Stormy Daniels? I don't know. I guess I don't want to meddle in their extracurricular activities, but maybe I don't know.
David says they taped them out of sequence. No, David, this is a live special.
Nah.
They're not taping anything out of sequence, so this is going to air back to back.
That's ridiculous.
Like a pay-per-view, but with commercials.
Brian Owens with 25 months. What's up, TNT? After losing my job of 13 years yesterday, listening to you talk wrestling has made my day better. Keep up the great work. I am sorry to hear that, brother. I've been there. Sucks. You're going to land on your feet for sure, man. Studa Beats with a $9.99. Just saw a clip of Swerve saying, "Fuck Booker T." This is why AEW is suffering. As a black wrestler, you should never disrespect Booker T, who paved the way for guys like Swerve. OTS for life. We possibly went over that in the sound check before we went live, and we decided to axe that story from the topics of discussion tonight. It doesn't really matter. It just makes AEW and Swerve look like they look stupid. I mean, after what we saw, he's pointing the finger of blame at the wrong booker. It's basically what he's doing. He should be fucking using that anger against Tony Khan for what happened on fucking Sunday night. What else do we got here? Angela Laga, thank you again for the $300 super chat. You are fucking unbelievable, man. Thank you so much. Havili with a 20 coming to us from Australia. What's up, JD and Solo? Shout out from Brisbane. This is for Solo. What do you think of WWE's top 50 greatest WrestleMania matches so far, and what may be the number one match? Favorite ending of WrestleMania? 10, 20, 30, or 40? So for Jason, what's your number one? I think we all know that one. Number one WrestleMania match, and out of the ones listed here, your favorite ending out of 10, 20, 30, and 40?
Favorite WrestleMania match, Bret Hart and Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13. I was saying Undertaker and Shawn Michaels for a while, and it's number 2 for me, because I got to go with Bret and Austin. I've been kind of loosely paying attention to this countdown they've been doing on their YouTube channel. They're going like 10, 9, 8, 7, and actually they were going from 50, counting down the best WrestleMania matches. I've officially checked out. They had Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair like the 10th best WrestleMania match ever. I'm like, all right, I'm done. So I can't really comment on the rest of the list, but yeah, I mean, we're not doing that. 10, 20, 30, 40. I think I'd go 40. I'd go 40, 30, 40, 30, 20, and 10. I would just go in reverse order.
Yeah, I would do the same thing. Havili also says, did you guys hear the rumor that Shawn Michaels and King Booker was the original choice for the Battle of Billionaires at WrestleMania 23, but changed? I did not hear that rumor.
You did not hear that rumor because it never happened.
Drew Paul.
I don't know where you're getting your information from, but you need to stop.
Maybe Hulk Hogan.
Probably.
Drew Paul with a 5. Braves win. World Series first or Moxley losing championship first? I don't know. The tough
Moxley losing.
Yeah, Moxley losing, yeah. Triple M. $2 Super Chat. What's up, man? Not going to lie, JD, Stephanie Vaquer is a baddie for real. She is. She is. She's a lovely lady. Havili with a 10. If Austin and Hogan happen at WrestleMania 18, would we get Rock and Hogan at 19 or 20? Rest in peace, Kevin Castle. Thanks, guys. P.S. I was a fan from TV Tracks. Also, will Jey Uso co-main event night 1?
There is no co-main event.
No, they're opening. They're opening either night 1 or night 2. That's the deal.
There's the night 1 main event and the night 2 main event. Yeah. That's it.
So if Austin and Hogan happen at 18, would we get Rock and Hogan at 19 or 20?
I mean, it's impossible to say, but my guess would be no. I think they wanted to do that Hogan McMahon match. They kind of built that up. It was like 20 years in the making, and we probably would have just gotten that.
Austin and Hogan. I'm glad we didn't get it. I mean, looking back at it, I didn't care. You know,
Austin and Hogan would have been. Austin versus Hogan is the biggest match we never got. I don't think quality-wise it would have been as good as Rock and Hogan.
No, I agree. TJ Leach with a 5. JD, I have a ticket to Dynamite in Baltimore tomorrow. Please pray for me. I am praying, brother. It looks like a decent card on paper, but we need some solid explanation coming out of Dynasty for sure. Just G with a 2. Much love after keeping it real last night. Hail, Kevin Castle. Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much. Blue Jay with a 2. JD, what do you think of Ludwig Borga? Crazy episode. Well, I haven't watched it yet. I don't really listen. I wasn't a fan of Ludwig Borga, and I don't really care about what he's done post WWE to a point where everybody is flaming him on social media. I just don't care. People do what they want to do, and I stay in my own lane. The only thing I remember from Borga, though, is that All Americans and the Foreign Fanatics. That was it. The only thing of note that I remember him doing.
Well, that and he ended the undefeated streak
of Tatanka, right?
Of Tatanka, yes.
Okay.
Who, by the way, I have to say, they interviewed him for the episode, and he used the most amazing analogy. Yeah, he was talking about how in wrestling, you want to give someone the rub. And so he made a comparison to Hulk Hogan. Like when you rub shoulders with Hulk Hogan, you get the rub. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, that's true, but I don't see Hulk Hogan anywhere around here. I see Tatanka. And this guy is comparing himself, even loosely comparing himself to Hulk Hogan, is probably worse than any individual Hogan lie that I've ever heard in my life. Like it was the most absurd thing.
Yes, man. I was a fan of Tatanka back in the day, but I mean, to say something like that, man, holy shit.
He's got quite the high opinion of himself.
Yeah, well, one undefeated streak for what? What'd it go? 2 years? He's got a big ego, huh?
It was a 2-year undefeated streak. Oh, you missed quite the episode.
I gotta go back. I haven't watched any of them yet.
You missed quite the episode. There was a tattoo that he has that. Well, there's 2 of them, but the one that I wasn't aware of, he has an exit-only tattoo right above his ass. And the best quote in the episode is from Jim Cornette, and he just goes, "Why would you need?" Because he was a terrible person. He was just a raging asshole. But Cornette just goes, "Why would you need to tattoo directions on the back of your ass for someone not to fuck you in the ass?" Like, was he just worried that somebody was going to walk up to him and just randomly start fucking him in the ass? Like, why would you do that?
Man, some people are just weird, bro. I don't know. Cornette is not wrong there. It's just so stupid. Josh G, thank you, brother. Blue Jay, thank you. Harpreet Singh with a $6.99 coming to us from Canada. Your thoughts on the upcoming Dead City Season 2? Hope to see Negan and Rick together in the future. Also, favorite Jericho match in AEW. I did not see the upcoming Dead City Season 2. I wasn't really a big fan of Season 1. I actually stopped at 4 episodes in. I got to go look at that. I hope Rick and Negan eventually come back together. And my favorite Jericho match in AEW, I'd have to go... I'd probably have to say Eddie Kingston at Revolution. I think it was 22.
I don't know what my favorite match would be of his. Yeah, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know. It would probably be from the first half of his run there, not the more recent half, but offhand, there isn't that one match that stands out to me, honestly.
No. Ashen Chevalier with 2 months. Don't hinder the gender movement. It is still alive somewhere. Yeah, I'll hinder it all day long, brother. Kenny Clifford with a 10. Correction, JD. Jinder Mahal lost the title on the SmackDown before Survivor Series in 2017.
Yeah, you said Brock. He lost it to AJ Styles.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Then Brock wrestled... What, Brian that year? Who was
Brian,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Brian.
Okay. Soma BT with 20 months. Shout out to that cheeky EO Sky. Yes, I know everybody was talking about what EO was wearing instead of the actual segment. I see. But nobody was mentioning Bianca, though. I mean, I thought Bianca looked better than EO.
Yeah, Bianca looked great. No, he wrestled AJ because AJ won the belt.
That's right.
That's why. So they wouldn't do Brock and Jinder. So they did Brock and AJ, and then the following year,
That's right.
In 18, that was 17. So in 18, it was Brock and Brian.
Yeah, that was a great match. Major with a 199. They was chanting "Fuck you, Swerve" at the PC tonight. Why?
Because he had to go open his mouth and he said "fuck Booker T." So now the fans,
okay.
You know, Booker's there every week in NXT, so they got to defend their own, I guess. And now we have a back and forth that now has started.
Ridiculous. Alex with a 10. One of the final episodes of SmackDown before Mania, we need a deceptive copyright logo to appear that Triple H is famous for, and the end of the show with the surprise Rock and Cena appearance beating the shit out of Cody. I hope so, man. We don't got much time left. I hope so. Something needs to happen. Sean with 3 months. Sorry for your loss, JD Solo. Love you, Jason. Jesse, thank you for all you guys do. And I greatly appreciate it. He says, keep up the great work as always. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you, man. Silver Tower with the $20 coming to us from Canada. He says, thanks for being you with a super emoji con. Thank you, brother.
Shout out to Silver Tower. He's my boy.
And Jose Perez will end with this one, $1.99. Good morning, gents. Just passing by. TNT for life. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Jose. I appreciate that.
Guys, thank you for an unbelievable episode 90. I thought tonight was excellent. One of our better episodes in many, many weeks. Not like we have bad episodes, but I thought tonight was especially good seeing the situation coming out of Dynasty. We were both very opinionated, which is always a great watch. But thank you guys for 3,500. Thank you guys. 1,500 likes. We need 60 more likes. If you guys want to do that for me, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat love. And as always, I'm going to leave it to Jason to sound us off for episode 90.
Well, I think just end the way we kind of started. You know, we had a lot of messages come in tonight mentioning Kev Castle, and obviously we're still trying to process, the news coming out yesterday about his passing. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who has been tagging me in a lot of messages and sending in a lot of messages and sharing stories about him, which I think has been great. Like the outpouring, I mean, it was trending. It was trending on X before. And there were lots of people sharing their thoughts and memories with him. And it's the best way to keep his memory alive, honestly, is to share those stories. He was great to the two of us. He was someone who will go down, again, one of the OGs, an influencer in this space, doing it for so many years, had a passion for it. It was always fun interacting with him. It sucks that he's not here anymore. It sucks that we're not going to be able to do that anymore. But just because he's not here anymore doesn't mean that he will be forgotten, because he will not be. So again, my condolences to his family and friends and fans. And I think you would agree with this. I think we're better off for having known him and being able to call him a friend.
Absolutely. I am indebted to him for as long as I'm here, and he was one of the more caring individuals and helped me through a very dark period, and I'll never forget what he did for me. So thank you guys very much, and thank you for all of the support tonight, and may Kevin Castle's inspiration and influence live on. We love him. Shout out to the D'Antoni family and Kev's family. We will be here always for them. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate you all, and we will see you right back here on episode 91 next week. We are only a couple of weeks away, less than 2 weeks away for WrestleMania 41, and we will be here to cover it all for you guys. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Ooh, la, la.